What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 12 OK Chapter 216 The Metamorphosis of Orochimaru, Menos Grande Snake Maru. Yang Niu. Kenpachi's back was gone. Orochimaru stood there blankly, his eyes lost, countless images flashing through his mind like a marquee. I vaguely remembered the white snakeskin I found while standing in front of Konoha somewhere. That is his lucky charm. He used to be no different from Jiraiya and Tsunade, and he was inspired to find a way to peace. But slowly, he changed the battle between the Second Ninja World War and Hanzo of the Salamander earned the title of Sannin, and he was even proud of it at one time. But what others don't know is that in addition to Sannin's name, Orochimaru has also seen countless lives fall. That time, the fragility of life had already laid the groundwork in his heart, but he did not change his direction. The real change was in the Third Ninja World War on Kikyo Mountain. He led Konoha Sanshi against Sand Shinobi. The companion kept falling down. Life is so fragile. He finally changed. Arranged by third generation by Danzo, he came into contact with ninjutsu that he hadn't dabbled in before. He was obsessed with forbearance. The ambition finally changed. With his short life, there's absolutely no way to master all the ninjutsu. Therefore, the meaning of the word yang finally entered his mind. Human experiments finally have results. Don't turn corpses into cattle. That was his great success. Forbidden technique has been mastered, but the problem of the container has been lingering in his mind. In the end, he set his goal on the Uchiha clan. The master holds a huge message in his hand. He knows that Uchiha is the only one who can fight the Senju clan in the entire ninja world. Uchiha Madara, there are even secrets he hasn't unearthed. The Uchiha clan became his preferred target, but Kenpachi's appearance disrupted all his deployment. In front of this man, the blood, 403, pulse does not seem to be important anymore. Common people also have their own ways to become stronger. Orochimaru was completely lost. He gave himself a deadline, that is, Kenpachi and Uchiha Itachi grew up in the same time, who can do better? Since that day, Konoha's training ground has a pair of dark eyes. But now, his eyes gradually regained their light. Orochimaru lowered his head. The deadline is up. There is no doubt that Yi Kenpachi is much better than Uchiha Itachi from any angle. It turns out that he was right to save Yi Kenpachi. The existence of this person provides the perfect container for his living corpse reincarnation. But the embarrassing problem arises: he has not been able to beat the container he considers to be perfect. Even his Yin village was intercepted by Yi Kenpachi. He doesn't know the specific situation of Konoha, but the expressions of Namikaze Minato and Hyuga can tell that the loss is not small. What is even more frightening is that from start to finish, this man only chopped twice. What a power that is! At this moment, before him is a new question. Should I trust each other? Believe that Yi Kenpachi controls the ability to give others eternal life. Every time you use living corpse reincarnation, it means weakening your soul and mental power. If you can't improve living corpse reincarnation and reduce the consumption of each reincarnation, your soul will eventually become exhausted and perish. This sentence is what Kenpachi said when he witnessed the use of living corpse reincarnation to seize others. He once thought it was alarmist, but after using it twice, Orochimaru also discovered this. The body can be controlled, but there is always an inexplicable sense of emptiness. Even the original consciousness of the body owner will occasionally appear, which will affect his cattle production. Even more frightening is that he found that his resistance to illusions was extremely weak. How should I choose? It is to change the direction of efforts to research and solve the side effects of living corpse reincarnation. I should still trust that man and change the path towards immortality. Only immortality to learn all the ninjutsu in the world. This is Orochimaru's ambition. But in the process of pursuing his ambitions, he discovered that what he actually likes most is the sense of accomplishment that every new breakthrough brings. Small he should be an inventor in a peaceful age. Eternal life. 6 Fei, interest. Kun, although I don't know what kind of ability your master possesses, but if you can mention me. A servant of God. Let me see where your wind can blow. News of Konoha's huge changes spread like wildfire. There is no way to hide this news. Because 2/3 of Konoha has become a vacuum zone, even if the reconstruction cannot be completed in a day or two, it is not realistic to block the news. When the news reached all the desks in the ninja village, the atmosphere in the ninja world instantly became tense. Stand up. Konoha destroyed. As for the Hyuga clan, who played a major role in controlling the situation, they were hailed as Konoha's eyes. Of course, the collective mutiny. All in all, the instigator is still the zealous Double Knife Rebellion passed down a few years ago. There is no doubt that Konoha suffered a heavy loss this time. In addition to shock, the shadows of each village have different thoughts. The situation in the ninja world has always been affected. Konoha, who attacked, was once again devastated, which was undoubtedly a huge opportunity for them. But apart from thinking about Konoha, their eyes also fell on the magical clan. Rain Shinobi Village. It is still a wet village shrouded in Yuhu freedom. Next to the tall tower in the center, in the headquarters meeting room of Xiao's organization, the slide body technique underneath several bodies. The shadow appeared on the finger of Gedo's statue. The internal regular meeting of Akatsuki's organization continues as usual. And this time, besides reporting the situation, there are obviously other things to do. Why didn't Shinlong come? The news of the meeting has spread for half an hour. The Akatsuki members who stood on the finger of the Gedo statue were all waiting. The atmosphere was calm and depressing. Finally, Pain turned Rinnegan to look at Orochimaru and asked absolutely. Someone is absent. This situation occurs very rarely. But what is certain is that Kenpachi didn't have any delays, just didn't want to come. Not sure. Orochimaru answered 3 words calmly. Regarding Kenpachi-kun, he naturally had no reason to ask, and the person who partnered with him in Akatsuki's organization was Sasori of Akasago. Well, he said that he was a little tired recently, so let me go back and convey the content of the meeting to him. I am too lazy to come, he replied awkwardly. In fact, he didn't say everything. There is another sentence after Kenpachi, that is that he has been out of rehearsal enough recently. Don't call him, even Black Zetsu can't get close, otherwise he will just be hacked to death. Very arrogant, but they have arrogant hole cards. It has been half a month since the Konoha incident happened. In this half a month, the Hyuga clan has completely settled down in Itonen village. After getting on the right track, the small village that didn't know how to adjust has completely developed into a formal shinobu village, everything. After experiencing the initial panic and fear, they have also become accustomed to the current cow life. Is that so? The expected answer. Pain nodded and looked at Conan. So, when the meeting is over, you can talk to him about mine. Mean. Clear. Conan nodded. Also, absolutely. You will not team up with Yi Kenpachi in the future and change to Conan. After giving a brief order, Pain continued, you should all know about Konoha. The main purpose is to ask Yi Kenpachi what he meant. After all, he has the Hyuga clan brought out from Konoha. The meaning is obvious. Pain took a fancy to the Hyuga clan and hoped that Kenpachi would obey Akatsuki's orders and do more. The main purpose of dispatching Conan is to spy on Kenpachi's unscrupulous purpose. The Bai Shao organization hasn't fully surfaced yet. Kenpachi took it out of those people in such a high profile. Haoyinfu will reveal the organization in advance. Although they have been active on the battlefield, but this time they appear to be upright and defensive. Also, the organization will continue to consolidate finances. Now that the borders of various countries are tight, we can. Enough has received more tasks than before, which is an opportunity. Kakuzu, I leave the task classification planning to you. Hey, I said that you not only ate Orochimaru-sama's Itoyen village, but also took his men with you. Don't let it go. Yinyan village, in a special small courtyard. Gurren lay on Kenpachi's shoulder, and his fingers circled his chest. This situation is the result that Gurren didn't expect when Kenpachi came to Itoyen village. The reason for this is not complicated. Kenpachi took a calm drink and glanced at Gurren with a melancholy. This woman is a strange flower. After coming to Itoyen village 3 years ago, she was dissatisfied that she had become Orochimaru's most noticeable target many times. Take a challenge. But every time the results are miserable. It's clear that she is the same age as Anko and looks a bit similar, but whether it's Carlites or... It can be seen that the trunk is a little too nutritious. That is the treatment after the challenge failed. Ordinary people can't enjoy it. So yesterday he hesitated. Azabu couldn't do anything because of his health. Gurren was caught by Kenpachi by accident. He was taking over the job that belonged to Mabui. Kenpachi-kun. At the gate of the yard, Orochimaru's hoarse voice suddenly came. Waved to Anko, Kenpachi yawned and said, the meeting is over. In addition to the usual news, Pain wants Conan to be your new partner. Walking into the yard, Orochimaru quietly reported to Kenpachi. Conan? Kenpachi raised his brow a little unexpectedly. The purpose is not clear for the time being, but if nothing else, he fell in love with the Hyuga clan. Orochimaru pointed to the door and said the fighting power of the Hyuga clan is not high or low, but the strategic significance of Byakugan cannot be ignored. And Orochimaru knows very well that the extreme point of Byakugan's thing is just not being played out. As long as the promotion method is researched out, the future of the Hyuga clan will come. Regardless of her, Kenpachi leaned back on the couch lazily, then looked at Orochimaru carefully. Talk about business, talk about Yongnayu's problem. Finally entered the topic, Orochimaru's eyes narrowed. For immortality, he once thought that no one in this world is more qualified to talk about this topic than him. But now, there seems to be one more person. Before starting, I will show you what kind of posture you will appear in this world in the future. The voice just fell. Kenpachi's aura became extremely terrifying. Face hollow. It is not the hollow of Obito Hitomi, but a monster from the world of Shinigami, a ghost that has evolved from a dead soul, void. This power after swallowing, Orochimaru suddenly realized how ridiculous his previous thoughts were. A man who can control this kind of power, he wants to obtain the other party's body? Calm down, it's not over yet. Kenpachi shook his head. This is just a masked form and does not apply to. Shu's way of survival is not to wear a mask, but to break the mask. With his gaze condensed, Kenpachi tore his mask to pieces in front of Orochimaru in an instant, revealing his face. At the same time, the white Death Tyrant's suit slowly appeared, and the white Zanpakuto in his hand became Kurosaki Ichigo Zangetsu's solution form. This power comes from the whiteness in the second template Kurosaki Ichigo. Kenpachi's flat cutting system does not bring about the awareness of whiteness, so this power is handy for him to use. In the virtual power system, this form is called Gibeon. This is the power I want you to master. Lifting it up, Zanpakuto pointed at the sky, and the next moment, the devastating Ryotsu skyrocketed. Sero swept across the sky and finally disappeared slowly. In addition, there is the healing power for the body. The tip of the knife struck Kenpachi's arm, and the scratches on it recovered in less than half a second. High-speed regeneration. If this ability reaches a high level, unless it is completely annihilated, it will be truly immortal. After speaking in one breath, Kenpachi was relieved from the state of returning to the blade. Orochimaru can't absorb too much, and he is essentially Shinigami. The strong one is the solution. Although the power of the virtual is strong, it is perfect when combined with the power of Shinigami. As for Orochimaru, 5.2 he originally controlled everything and treated everything in the world as his guinea pig, but now it's the opposite, and he calls Kenpachi's guinea pig. Build your own Hollow Legion's test product. Use small to insignificant power to infuse Orochimaru's body, and then with his help absorb the virtual power to complete the evolution. This is the purpose of Kenpachi. Yongnu? He will not appear to be okay to give Orochimaru the power of Eternal Sun, nor will he give Orochimaru the power for no reason. But while gaining strength and immortality, he needs Orochimaru's loyalty. There are also preparatory methods. The new body is under his control. If Orochimaru has the idea of rebellion, he will only end with death. He needs Orochimaru as his assistant, absolutely loyal to stop. And since the beginning of the experiment, Orochimaru is no longer Orochimaru, but the emptiness of the snakeskin is removed. Dalu Shiwan, sure enough, I was stunned. What only made Kenpachi helpless was that after he had said everything, Orochimaru stood there blankly, as if he didn't understand it at all. It should be. It's strange if you can understand it. Kenpachi shook his head. He was too lazy to talk nonsense and picked up his white Zanpakuto directly into Orochimaru's body. Puff. The knife is gone. Hold on, just like when living corpse reincarnation devours someone's soul. Power penetrated into Orochimaru's body from Zanpakuto. Kenpachi said a word in his ear, and then leaned back on the couch and waited. Can it succeed? Kenpachi squinted his eyes, with a little expectation in his eyes. Imagination of the hollow core. Interesting. There seems to be something wrong. I remember that Uncle Snake is now using a woman's body. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 217 Cut off their heads and send them home. Yinyan village is still under construction, but unlike before, since Orochimaru walked into Kenpachi's room that day, the atmosphere of horror began to spread. The black Ryotsu soaring into the sky made people tremble. The miserable howls were transmitted to every corner of this small village. The process of hollow is really painful. Kenpachi has already talked to Orochimaru before starting this point. But as long as you can persist, it means a new rebirth. Orochimaru wants a perfect body, and his goal has always been to covet others. And this time, Kenpachi gave himself a chance. Arrancar's body, in a sense, meets Orochimaru's requirements for a perfect container. Absorbing Arrancar will not destroy its own chakra system. In a sense, he is a ninja and possesses two powers, but no matter which power is destined to surpass Kenpachi. His power was given to him by Kenpachi, and he is destined to become Kenpachi's right-hand man in the future. However, in the eyes of outsiders, this painful transformation process is more like Kenpachi torturing Orochimaru. But they understand that they are not qualified to talk about that man. Time passed by every minute and every second. Finally, Orochimaru, who was screaming, gradually calmed down. The body that was standing in the yard had also changed drastically. The Red Lien, who had been guarding the door, glanced through the gap, and in just a second, she had a cold war and quickly retracted her gaze as if she had seen a ghost. At this time, the people in the yard can no longer be called people. A cocoon wrapped in white Orochimaru is as lifelike as a cow. The violent energy fluctuations from above represent the signal of success. It succeeded. Touching his chin, Kenpachi smiled satisfied. According to his calculations, the first stage is the most difficult. In addition to physical transformation, mental devastation is the most difficult to resist. Now that Orochimaru has succeeded, just wait for the moment when he breaks the cocoon. This time will not be too long. Wow! At this moment, a piece of white paper suddenly fell in the air, and the piece of paper began to split as it descended. One piece, two pieces. In the end, the woman who gathered from countless pieces of paper slowly appeared. Conan came quickly. When she first received Pain's order, 16, she still resisted. This is the first time for her to use physical conditions to hook up the opponent and tell her own purpose. But even she understood that the current strength of Yi Bajian and the power in his hands made Shao organization have to pay attention. He has a close relationship with Orochimaru, and he holds the Hyuga clan in his hands. His own strength was so powerful that he almost destroyed Konoha in an instant. The most important thing is that his growth rate is too exaggerated. I think 3 years ago, Pen also let the Loquat Juzang test him because the other party was a child. Although he was beaten on the spot, the Loquat Juzang couldn't even take a single move. But that's the case, she didn't take the other party to heart. As long as Rinnegan's power is used, no one can defeat Nagato. The premise of this sentence is to thoroughly understand the abilities of Yi Kenpachi. From today I will take over. As the angel of the gods, Konan's usual way of greeting is that. Unfortunately, she was interrupted by Kenpachi as soon as she spoke. Do not talk. Pointing to the huge virtual serpent in front of him, Kenpachi said calmly. Konan is here. As for the purpose, Kenpachi is not clear, but he can guess something. But whether it is Konan becoming a partner or Nagato's purpose, Kenpachi sees it as nonsense and the most important thing is still Orochimaru's hollow experiment. If he succeeds, it means that the idea of building the hollow core in the future is established, and the cards in his hand increase again, which is more practical than what Nagato asked Konan to convey. His gaze shifted from Orochimaru's hollow cocoon to Konan, and Kenpachi squinted his eyes. The Big Three of Rain Shinobi Village, the first-generation disciple of Jiraiya. Akatsuki was established with ideals, but the ideal world is still so far away. Remember that there is a picture of memory in the original work as evidence. At the beginning, the Akatsuki organization always used love to generate electricity, helping others to complete the commission, but never received. This kind of non-profit organization relies on faith. Finally, they were full of confidence from the beginning, to the silence and peace at the end, guess a few years. In this state, it won't take long for Yahiko's idea to completely collapse, and Akatsuki's organization will completely degenerate from the organization that uses love to generate electricity. But something ridiculous came. Danzo hooked up with Hanzo, gave Akatsuki a set, under the banner of understanding their beliefs in Akatsuki, he wanted to complete the alliance. 16 At this moment, the Zishao organization seems to usher in a new life. The people in the organization are happy and think that people. The road of mutual understanding has gone further. Pity the irony is that this is nothing but a scam. Using love to generate electricity is obviously a dream. People understand each other, and it is impossible to completely give up disputes. Can't do it either. Just like Senju Hashirama, who promotes the concept of mutual understanding between people, his brother Senju Tobarama told you. The opinions of the Zebo clan are always the same. One reason. To understand each other is to dream. On the contrary, Nagato's final twisted concept also contains some truth. Punish each other with the same pain in this way, we can experience the pain of both parties and finally reach peace. The madman's theory of peace is indeed crazy, but another concept can be understood as forceful coercion. As long as I don't make mistakes, I won't eat rice. So at least it still depends on the spectrum. The most unreliable thing is still people understand. Extreme people can even understand the existence of killing his master and even parents. Well, Uzumaki Naruto. The master who forcibly washes white. However, in contrast to Nagato and Yahiko, Konan's philosophy has never been complicated thinking like peace. Thinking, just looking at the companion's back to help the companion, and standing beside him without hesitation. So, if Yahiko and Nagato are extremely incurable, only Konan can be relieved. Hope. What does he see me doing? Konan frowned, dissatisfied with the gaze from Kenpachi. Click. The sound of something cracking suddenly came. Kenpachi stood up and instantly retracted his gaze on Konan and walked forward. Click. Wow, the cocoon of the big snake began to burst. Finally, when Kenpachi approached, a slim figure appeared inside wearing a white martial arts uniform. In situ. Also, the skin is whiter. No, it should be her. And the exaggeration of the figure made Kenpachi nod in praise. Sure enough, Ant Snake used a woman's body to hollow. Except for the signs, the needles in the pupils are very familiar. At this moment, there was a small horn on her forehead. Completely completed a masterpiece belonging to Kenpachi. Gradually, the confusion in Orochimaru's pupils disappeared. In just a moment, her gaze was aimed at Kenpachi. At that moment, she finally understood how big the gap between the two is. The instinct of a beast can only stand on the same level. No, it is the same kind of creature. Tell yourself thoroughly how dangerous it is. After hollow is completed, Orochimaru has a different ability from chakra. The memory of the body tells her that it is a special energy called soul pressure. The abbreviation Ryotsu is completely different from chakra. This Ryotsu power comes from the soul, but Orochimaru affirms that Ryotsu. The power is much stronger than chakra. Chakra can make everything bad. But Ryotsu, just simple the existence of Ryotsu makes the upper and lower levels of the creature more distinct. For example, Orochimaru just looks at the boy in front of him, but his body is unconsciously stiff. Unable to move. This is just the pure Ryotsu fluctuation of the opponent. If Ryotsu really broke out, she would probably crawl on the ground and couldn't move. This is the difference. Only when the master has this power, Orochimaru can fully recognize how scared the man in front of her is. Under the premise of this subordinate, she finally understands why Yi Kenpachi dares to be so big. Fangfang gives himself new strength, because he is not afraid to resist himself. I feel the strength years ago, everything was illusory. If Orochimaru is compared to a flat boat, then Kenpachi is an endless sea of thousands of suns. Such a gap is not something Orochimaru can resist. She finally understood why this man could almost destroy Konoha on her own. Puff through. Kneel on one knee. Orochimaru lowered his head. This means that from today onwards, she completely surrendered and became one of the servants of the gods. She is. Konan next to him was dumbfounded. She, Orochimaru. Kenpachi said calmly, the snake has lost its skin. This is what she was like. Don't doubt it. Boom. Seemingly afraid that Konan was shocked, Orochimaru nodded and made a mark and instantly changed to what he was. This power was created by Kenpachi. Without his permission, Orochimaru will not use it indiscriminately. And next, she has to make good use of this power of master. Orochimaru. Konan opened his mouth blankly. That person was clearly a beautiful girl just now. This is her, a man or woman, a father or mother. Kenpachi shook his head and was too lazy to explain anything, then turned to look at Konan and continued, I have something to do with me. Almost forgot to do business. Konan flips over, Byakugan takes back his mind. From today, I will replace Ju to become your new partner. In addition to performing the task together, Pain has one thing to tell you. Squinting his eyes, Konan looked at Kenpachi, as if waiting for the other person to inquire about his details. But to his disappointment, the man in front of her calmly made her feel depressed, and did not follow her standards. The script is ready. What a difficult man. Konan took a deep breath. You have been targeted, the 5 big ninja villages, and those little ninja villages did not directly fight Konoha because of your actions, but instead set the target on the Hyuga clan. Noodle. Pen means to make you be more careful. If you can't handle the peeping of those people, you can find. Organize to help. After a pause, Konan watched Kenpachi's expression carefully, but the man just breathed smoothly. With a boring sigh, also, Pain asked me to bring you a word. Don't hold on. The attraction of the Hyuga clan to those people cannot be solved by you alone. It's not something you can eat alone. This is the point, right? Kenpachi smiled, full of sarcasm and disdain. Kenpachi understands that he can't control the Hyuga clan by himself, and tells him that he is clearly powerful and it is better to transfer the Hyuga clan to Akatsuki's organization. This is Nagato's plan. Nagato seems to think that under the eyes of other shinobu villages, the foundation of Yinyan village must not be maintained. Really, this time, Yinyan village was exposed very early. The reason is that Kenpachi's first teammate was absolute. If you don't want to expose Yinyan village, Kenpachi can't come back. That obviously doesn't fit Kenpachi's personality. In addition, Kenpachi went all the way from the country of fire to the country of Tien. Everyone knows that he arranged the Hyuga clan here in the 747, so Yinyan village can't hide it at all. What Kenpachi did not expect was that the shinobu village in the country did not launch an attack on Konoha in the first time, but instead set the target on him. After thinking about it a little bit, I figured out the reason. Although Konoha was hit hard, the ninja village still exists, and there is still a lot of power to protect the ninja from the country of fire, and even if you attack Konoha, other villages will definitely not sit idly by and fight when the time comes. A mess may not necessarily have more interests. But Kenpachi is different from Konoha. His apparent power is only the Hyuga clan who just got it, so by contrast, Kenpachi has turned into a soft persimmon. As for why he was able to almost kill Konoha with 2 swords, those shinobu villages classified this ability as forbidden. Since it is the forbidden technique, it cannot be used all the time. It was only Konoha's people who witnessed Kenpachi's power on that day. After that, although they saw Konoha's tragic situation, they did not directly see Kenpachi's power with their own eyes. In the end, the goal was still on him. They want to get Byakugan. Actually, if you speak, organize. Seeing Kenpachi's silence, Konan mistakenly thought he was moving and was about to continue. Unexpectedly, I was interrupted before finishing speaking. Woman, you can shut up. Calmly stretched out his finger to Konan and shook it. Kenpachi looked at Orochimaru who was kneeling on the ground. Do you feel it? The souls of those people fluctuate. Does the soul fluctuate? Orochimaru closed his eyes and instantly understood what he looked away from. I know you want to try that power. Try it, help me cut off their heads, and then distinguish which shinobu village they belong to, and then throw their heads at the door of their village. Patting Orochimaru on the shoulder, Kenpachi looked amiable and kind, and the old father encouraged his son to take the first step boldly. Yes, Kenpachi-kun. No, master. After she broke the cocoon, she finally understood the meaning of living. The master of this sentence deserves it. What did she do? After Orochimaru left, Konan asked suspiciously. She didn't understand the conversation between the two people just now. Didn't you just say it? Someone covets this village. It's not mine to come and not to go. Those villages that send ninjas to inquire about news will receive the heads of their companions that I gave them tonight. Cut off their heads and send them home, and ask them to accept this gift. In Konan's surprised gaze, Kenpachi turned his head to look at her calmly. Their business is not important, woman, then I will tell you the rules of being my partner. My rules? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 218 The Failed Beauty Trick, Kenpachi's Real Purpose. Your rules? Conan frowned. The mysterious teenager in front of her made her completely unpredictable. Whether it was the newly built Shinobu village or the changes he made Orochimaru stunner, she couldn't understand these things. Although she had just come here, the new things that could be seen made her very dazed. Orochimaru has become a woman and has the ability to fly. Moreover, Konoha Sanin kept calling Yi Kenpachi as his master. This is completely inconsistent with the initial intelligence. At the beginning, the information they received from Akatsuki was clearly the right one for Kenpachi, who Orochimaru accepted. Even after joining Akatsuki, Orochimaru was the referrer in the middle. It stands to reason that the relationship between Yi Kenpachi and Orochimaru should be subordinate and superior. But the master of Orochimaru really aroused her curiosity. And now, the man in front of him mentioned his own rules. This is really new. Joining the Akatsuki organization means losing freedom. From then on, it is only right to listen to the organization. When do you want to set the rules again in the rules? Regular things, the leader has already decided. You also know the purpose of the two teams, for mutual supervision and cooperation, and for monitoring each other not to disclose secrets. I am afraid that Pain will not accept your rules. You can't mess with the rules at any time. When Kenpachi suggested that he had his own rules, Conan began to refute. Obviously, no matter what the rules are, she doesn't want to accept, or even listen. As the god envoy of Rain Shinobi Village, the angel of God, according to her idea, this kind of exception is already outrageous when she becomes a teammate of others. Although the purpose is to find out the idea and purpose of Yi Kenpachi, it sounds very unreliable to be beautiful. Pen is pen and I am me. Kenpachi shook his head and walked step by step in front of Conan, then with a thundering force he held the opponent's slender waist with one hand, and the other hand pinched Conan's chin and stared at him. After a few seconds, Kenpachi's mouth came to her ear and whispered softly. Woman, don't think I don't know the purpose of your coming to my side. If you want to inquire about your purpose, you have to pay a price at least. The beauties do anything. Since they are here, you have to put down your arrogance, otherwise I don't know how to cooperate with you in Nagato's performance. Can't struggle anymore. Conan's face was angry and shocked. Paper dun can't be used, and even the moment it is caught, it loses its resistance. What is this ability? At this moment, she regretted it. Regret for accepting Nagato's mission lurking beside this man. But this awkward posture did not last long. Let go. Kenpachi let go of the opponent, sorted out the Death Tyrant's suit on his body, and put away Zanpakuto next to him for a while. It is not his character that is hiding. Conan is here, which shows that Akatsuki's upper management has thoroughly noticed him. Including Obito, Ju, and Nagato, the three behind-the-scenes guys have all their ideas on him at the moment. This kind of thing has little to do with the Hyuga clan. This kind of trouble will come sooner or later when he shows more power than control. Regardless of the means of inquiring about the news, their purpose is only one. I just want to know if I have a threat to Project Tsuki no Mi. Pity. This kind of inquiries seems to Kenpachi quite insincere. Just like what he said, the beauties always have to behave like a little bit, otherwise he would have no chance to be fooled. Glancing at Conan, this guy has been confused by his behavior just now. As an angel of Akatsuki's organization, she has never been held so slender and spoken in her life. Conan is really dumbfounded. But in addition to the other party's bold dialogue, it is more that Yi Kenpachi directly calls Nagato's name. Instead of Pen. Sure enough, he knew Pain's secret. This is not a good thing for her and Akatsuki. First, in the future, except for the tasks and regular meetings that are fixed every month, other time belongs to my personal time. No one has the right to interfere, including Nagato. Of course, if you want to catch the tail beast in the future, I will do a little bit of work. With a breath, Kenpachi lay down on the recliner and hooked his finger at Conan. The meaning was obvious, let the other person get closer. Up to date, Conan didn't care, it's not like being close to Kenpachi at all. Because she knew that if the man in front of her had a brutal haircut at this time, she might not be able to run. A safe distance must be maintained 2070. Cut. Really dirty thinking. Kenpachi curled his lips in disdain, then say the second point, don't think about messy things before me. Affection. Quote. These eyes can see through people's hearts. Pointing to his eyes, the man seemed a little dull. Just blow it. See through people's hearts. Conan sneered. For the first time, Gao Leng was used to her feeling a little unstable. Third. Whoosh. Just when Kenpachi wanted to say, as a female companion, you should care about the daily life of the male companion, and by the way. When in charge of the bed warming business, a figure fell in the yard. Orochimaru. Returning to his original appearance, he had already put on the women's clothing and became the insidious Uncle Snake. Of course, the frantic look at Kenpachi still couldn't be wrong. You deserve it. Uncle Snake. Both male and female. Uncle Snake at the moment looked a little excited. After initially experimenting with Master's virtual power, he seemed to have discovered a new world. Although I have compared the power of Reiatsu and chakra in my heart, I know that Reiatsu is a kind of comparison. Stronger energy. But when he personally used it, he couldn't help but marvel at it. What kind of energy is this? Chakra will be different in strength because of the bloodline problem, but Reiatsu came to him. Said to be fair, if the master can cultivate the soul, then Reiatsu will also be improved. There is no doubt that this way of cultivating the soul must be possessed by the master in front of him. I just don't know if he will give alms to himself. Yes, it is charity. Discovered the new world, and stood in the enclosure of the same creature as Kenpachi. He couldn't help but surrender. Kneeling on one knee, Orochimaru bowed his head sincerely. Master, attack all 12 enemies and annihilate them, and their heads have been sealed in the subordinate scrolls. According to subordinates' experience, these enemies are from Kurigakure. Subordinates will arrange for someone to throw their heads in Kurigakure. Kurigakure. Kenpachi smiled. When he heard these words, he understood many problems. What I couldn't figure out at first is also clear. Needless to say, it is absolutely not wrong that Kurigakure is still under Obito's control at this moment. So in order to match Konan's remarks, Kenpachi believed that many shinobu villages focused on his voice. Above the hidden village, dispatching Kurigakure's ninjas to observe the sneak attack, and even seizing the opportunity to capture the blood of the Hyuga clan is a logical matter. This is the cooperation between Obito and Nagato. The purpose is that Kenpachi finally turned to Akatsuki for help. Close Yinyan village. No wonder the so-called enemy came so quickly. With Obito's intelligence, it is not difficult to dispatch troops quickly. Pity. Obito's abacus is wrong. Even a little stupid. Others may not know Kenpachi's combat effectiveness, but Obito does. As early as when he shot Konoha, Kenpachi sensed that the two mice behind him had been trailing. Knowing the cost of angering Kenpachi, he did so. What does Obito mean? Strike a tiger's whiskers. With a sneer, Kenpachi didn't bother to think deeper. You don't need to let people go to Kurigakure. Shaking his head, Kenpachi lost interest. Kurigakure is under Obito's control, and to be precise, the ninjas that appear around Otoyakura are all dead ghosts. The blood fog policy can tell how much Obito hates Kurigakure, but the more so, the sword. Yakoshi had no reason to attack Kurigakure. Really doing it is the behavior that meets Obito's wish. Master, there is something subordinates want to know. After hesitating, he looked at Konan Orochimaru next to Kenpachi. It was obvious that Konan was an outsider, and he didn't know whether he should ask him in front of him or not. That is, when you gain this kind of power, you should understand that your vision no longer needs to be affected by this. This world's original shackles, even Rinnegan, the legendary sage of six paths' eyes don't have to be in the eyes. As for the organization behind this woman, it's just a relationship between the clowns who use each other. Quote, I will explain to you in detail later when I have time. Quote. A few understatements came out of Kenpachi's mouth, but Konan was extremely angry. But obviously, the teenager did not intend to bother with each other. You said before that you want to resemble the new power in my body. To transform to the same clan, then the specific transformation plan is the same as. With Kenpachi's consent, Orochimaru had no scruples, and asked about the Japanese. To build a plan for a clan. But at the same time, his heart is full of shock. The power of Reiatsu. If an army similar to one's own creatures is created, is there still a place for this ninja world to go? Just like what Kenpachi-kun said just now, when he successfully appears here, no matter what. What is the final purpose of the organization? For this man, it's just a clown. Knowing this, Orochimaru fully understood how ambitious this man is. Konoha, Yinyan village. Do not. From the beginning, he had never been restrained by such ridiculous things. What he wants has always been the whole world. The real change is about to begin, and Orochimaru is very grateful for his choice. Sometimes standing in line is really important. If the world changes successfully, his name will also be remembered by history. Just because he is the first man under Yi Kenpachi to complete the evolution. Well, the power of the soul will be there, but there are other things. Quote, in a few days I will go somewhere and bring someone back. What you have to do then is to help me nurture his cell. Quote, glancing at the sky, Kenpachi gave a weird smile. That place is naturally the moon. He needs Ōtsutsuki's body to complete the final experiment. That is an extremely crazy idea. Cultivate the cell of that hapless child to make the entire Hyuga clan complete a leap in combat effectiveness. But like Senju Hashirama cells, since that kid's body is so special, it can even make the eye evolved into Tenseigen, which is naturally not so easy to cultivate. Therefore, the container needed for culturing cells must also be found suitable. For example, Gedo statue. Looking at Konan, Kenpachi stroked his chin. Shaking his head, Kenpachi gave up the idea. There is still more time, so there is no need to rush for a while. Since the Hyuga clan has followed himself, Kenpachi will naturally not lose them. The Soy Sauce clan in the original book will become the main force of the Fourth Ninja World War, which no one can imagine. Certainly, the Uchiha clan was also favored by Kenpachi. The Cloud Shinobi village incident has not completely ended. Konoha has begun to rebuild at this moment, but it is bound to fight the furious Cloud Shinobi village while rebuilding. You must know that this time it's not just Konoha that has lost, but Cloud Shinobi Village has also suffered heavy losses. After tossing from the Kingdom of Thunder to the Kingdom of Fire, not only the members of the envoy group were killed in battle, but there were not many elites brought by Raikage. This bad breath must come out. So the battle is an inevitable result. As for the outcome, Kenpachi doesn't care. He is still aiming at Uchiha. Calculated according to the time of the original work, there are still 3 or 4 years before the Uchiha clan will go to extinction. Even with the intervention of war, this time period will not be too different. At that time, Itachi's choice, the life and death of Guanping Uchiha clan. The foreshadowing has been laid, Kenpachi only needs to observe Konoha's movements. Quote. Understood. Culture cells. Orochimaru nodded, this thing he is good at. Behave well, your path has just begun. He stood up and patted Orochimaru on the shoulder. Kenpachi had a satisfied look on his face. You are just a preliminary master of the virtual Arrancar. You haven't completed the return of the blade and the second stage of the blade. Use that power more and it is better to adapt to it. Combine it with chakra, you, Zhao, will find a new door beckoning to you. The return blade, similar to the previous form, can be compared to Shinigami's Shikai, and the second stage return blade is more powerful. These are far away from Orochimaru. But from the perspective of the big white snake, when Ant Snake absorbed the virtual power, her return blade form would be a snake. Kenpachi also doesn't know the specific combat power. What are you going to do? After Orochimaru left, Konan couldn't help but ask her questions. The other party first belittles the Shao organization, and even in his eyes the act of Shao organization is just a small opener. Then why do you want to join the Akatsuki organization? Konan was extremely puzzled. What is his purpose? Women, why don't you exchange answers with your own body? Kenpachi calmly said something that made the other party ashamed. You dream. Konan furious. Is it a dream? When I do it, it will be too late even if you forcefully use the beauty counter. Shaking his head, Kenpachi walked to the gate of the yard. The Hyuga clan is already on the right track, but Hyuga Hiyashi sent someone to see him before, saying that he had something to discuss. I miscalculated. Outside Yinyan village, Obito and Ju appeared beside the pile of corpses. There is no doubt that all the corpses have their heads cut off, and the walking is extremely painful. The three-hook jade in Obito's eyes turned slightly. To be honest, he didn't want these people to attack Yinyan village, just let them wait nearby. Waiting for the time, it is best to give the person in charge of Yinyan village, Yi Kenpachi, a sense of urgency, and let him know that what Konan said is not false, and that someone really looks at Yinyan village. Unfortunately, he didn't expect it at all. That guy actually let people shoot directly. Get rid of him cleanly. This is demonstrating to me. It's kind of funny. Squinting his eyes, Obito turned on his head and Kamui disappeared with Black Zetsu. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 219 The Conspiracy that enveloped the Uchiha clan, the plan of the Kingdom of God. After the reconstruction, the surviving civilians are the main force, and the lack of supplies has been communicated to the daimyo. However, the daimyo's meaning is to focus on the border between the country of fire and the country of thunder. According to the reliable news, the movie is ready to be sent and will call at any time. The Broken Konoha. Reconstruction is on the agenda, but successive bad news makes Sarutobi Hiruzen's hair pale. Inside the temporary Hokage office, Kakashi reported the information he had received without expression. Daming's worry is reasonable, but the reconstruction of the border cannot be delayed. The Naruto consultant Mitokado Homura and Udatane Kaharu looked at each other and expressed their opinions. Kakashi didn't reply, and glanced around calmly. Said it is an office. In fact, the resources Konoha can gather at this moment are only a few tenths. There is another chair next to Sarutobi that is empty. That chair belongs to Shimura Danzo, and if you count him, the senior Konoha will have it together. But Danzo will definitely not come. The reason is also very simple. That's he doesn't have that face. The Cloud Shinobi Village incident was taken care of by Danzo, but the result was obviously a playoff, and it surpassed everyone. Control. He also lost the entire Hyuga clan. Not only did it not comfort Cloud Shinobi Village, but it also angered the other party. Backfired. What's more shameless is that when things are beyond control, the old man chose to run away for the first time, and when Yi Kenpachi left with the Hyuga clan, didn't the old boy show up at the entrance of the village to help with his life? Kakashi didn't bother to think about it. At this moment, Konoha is embarrassed on all sides, besides the border of the country of fire, besides the country of thunder that is certain to attack, he also has many spies in several countries. The current atmosphere is clear that the war is about to begin. But what means can Konoha use to resist? This is not even known to Kakashi himself. Raikage is crazy. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and summarized today's meeting. Raikage is indeed crazy. Whenever thinking about problems from the perspective of a superior, after the truth is revealed, the best way is still sending messengers to force Konoha to pay compensation. It is the way of fighting that a wise man chooses to claim the benefits without blood. But Raikage chooses to meet with Konoha. What is thinking in his head? Even if I hate it, it should be very night. Kenpachi is right. Konoha is already miserable, must he force Konoha to perish? Only a wry smile can interpret his inner entanglement at the moment. 793. But since the opponent wants to fight, Konoha must make preparations. But after the Cloud Shinobi village incident, Konoha's loss was too great, whether it was a ninja or the villagers have been hit unprecedentedly in history. The attack is more severe than the Nine Tails chaos. Really want to fight, whether Konoha can withstand the attack of Cloud Shinobi village is a big question. You go back first, Kakashi stay. Nodded with the two consultants, Sarutobi Hiruzen said. After the two of them left, the old man looked at Kakashi, but his eyes focused on each other. On Sharingan under forehead protector. What does Naruto mean? Kakashi narrowed his eyes and realized that things were not simple. At this point, I don't hide anything from you. Kakashi, the village must re-enable the Uchiha clan like during the Third Ninja War. When the time comes, you can't do it. But if you can tell me your opinion, it's better to tell me clearly if you enable that family, will they seize the opportunity to seize power? Light on the pipe, Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice is calm, but the content of the words makes Kakashi stunned. The Uchiha clan. Regarding the survival history of that clan in Konoha and the number of times that they participated in battles, they are unique. Something is outrageous. Some things that Kakashi knows are strange just thinking about it. For example, in the Third Ninja World War, Konoha is basically a 1v4 situation. Even so, Sarutobi Hiruzen originally did not intend to use the Uchiha clan to fight against the enemy. It wasn't until Konoha couldn't stand it, and no one could stand up, did he have to send Uchi. Bo heads to the battlefield. What's more weird is yet to come. Konoha's situation instantly stabilized after Uchiha joined the battle, and at the beginning of the battle, Konoha. A hard-won victory. When the Zebo clan joined Jiajing and wanted to annihilate the enemy in one fell swoop, it was surprising that the transfer order was issued again from the top to make the Uchiha clan evacuate the battlefield urgently. What a weird operation. From this point of view, we can fully understand that the senior leaders do not want the Uchiha clan to do meritorious service. I also don't want that group's prestige to surpass other groups. In other words, it is that the top cannot trust Uchiha and fear their power. The final development is as high level wants to see. After the Third Ninja World War, although the Uchiha clan had contributed, they were basically not mentioned. If it weren't for Itachi's memories that he had been taken into the battlefield by Uchiha Fugaku to watch the cruelty of the battlefield when he was a child, plus Fugaku's Mangekyo, no one would even know what the Uchiha clan did in the Third Ninja War. What's more, the people in Cloud Shinobi village actually think that the Hyuga clan is the real first pupil technique. The big clan don't take Uchiha seriously. From these analyses, you can know that Uchiha has always been in a state of being hidden by Konoha. As it is now, after the Nine Tails turmoil, even the villagers thought that behind the scenes they were manipulating the tale. It was the Uchiha clan who destroyed the village. So they were squeezed out to the outskirts of the village as they should. However, Kakashi believes that the current Uchiha clan would be lucky to have moved to the outskirts, otherwise. In the Cloud Shinobi village incident, they are the ones who have suffered the most. After all, the area where they were before was the focus of Kenpachi Sero. Only now, third generation actually intends to re-enable the Uchiha clan, and even let itself guess. Will Fang defect to seize power? What is your head thinking? Kakashi looked at third generation blankly. He couldn't answer this question. Too much, he was afraid that the friend's relic he was carrying, which is the Sharingan, would tingle. If you say less, I'm afraid that third generation will think that it will choose to join Uchiha, just like the question Uchiha Itachi asked himself not long ago. The captain is not from Uchiha, but has Sharingan. Which side does the captain think you belong to? A difficult question to answer. Kakashi's response was only to tell Itachi that his eyes came from his friends, to warn him in the future. Proof of not letting the companion get hurt, so he just needs to remain silent. It's not deliberately pretending to be deaf, but Kakashi thinks what third generation is talking about is nonsense. I was worried that the Uchiha family took the opportunity to rebel, but this time the situation had to use Uchiha. The power of the clan is indispensable. Isn't this inconsistent? In Kakashi's view, the words of third generation are all about looking for someone to blame. If that group really rebels, it's not himself who will take the risk. Very hypocritical. Anyway, you have to use the power of that clan, and what do you want to do so much? Unexpected silence. Third generation did not force Kakashi to answer the question. The atmosphere began to be weird. It was not until Uchiha Fugaku opened the door to enter. Type. Lord third generation, you are looking for me. It is still the face that looks a little stiff, and it is not a day or two to deal with high-level people, rich. You knows how to hide his true thoughts. But even he doesn't know what Sarutobi is looking for at this moment. Patriarch Fugaku should know everything about the border. Cloud Shinobi village couldn't hide the news of Konoha's declaration of war, and the third generation also released the news. He wants to see who can be trusted and who can't be trusted at this juncture. Be careful in words and deeds, Fugaku has always believed in this truth. These 4 words are also often taught by his father. In fact, relying on these 4 BB characters, Uchiha Fugaku's father was able to. Second Hokage Senju Tobirama took good care of Uchiha's foundation while he was in power. Opportunity for the Zebo family. I mean, starting today, the work of the guards will be suspended. You are the deputy commander of the border to assist Nara Shikajiju to resist the offensive of Cloud Shinobi Village. Take the fighters of the Uchiha clan, and choose your trusted companions to go to the front. Stick to the front and wait for the fighter to change. Can you do it? Standing up, Sarutobi walked up to Fugaku and said something like this in his shocked eyes. What will 3rd generation do? A trace of sweat oozes from Fugaku's forehead. For the first time, the senior management gave command to the Uchiha clan on the battlefield. Even the deputy commander is the first time he has been so valued. But in the next second, Fugaku seemed to think of something that his pupils contracted for a while, and then he backed away without hesitation. Kneel on one knee in one step. 3rd generation Sama, Fugaku has insufficient abilities, I'm afraid I can't. This is Hokage's order. He wants to object. Unexpected opposition. The Kakashi next to him was stunned, completely unaware of what Fugaku was thinking. Get the power to go to the war to prove the strength of the Uchiha clan and let Konoha's villagers recognize Uchiha. Isn't this what the Uchiha clan has always wanted? Why did he not want this kind of treatment anymore? Kakashi was a little confused. What makes him even more puzzled is that 3rd generation is so bold, and directly gives the other party the authority of the deputy commander. And also very persistent. What the hell are you doing? Father, what do you mean? Uchiha ethnic land. Fugaku has returned. But his face is not pretty. Sitting in the living room with Itachi, the father and the son began a conversation. Itachi, who learned the news, was also a little confused. It stands to reason that Konoha in this period suffered an unprecedented blow, but the Uchiha clan did not. Any loss, high-level defense is too late, why choose to take the initiative to give power? You have to see a deeper meaning. Fugaku sighed and looked sad. The position of this deputy commander seems to have been trusted, but it is actually a bigger test. If you win, the Uchiha clan naturally deserves credit, but the clan people will probably expand and grow like never before. The defiant arrogance is more likely to be caught. Not to mention, if the people are still dissatisfied with it by then. The decision of the level is probably not a small-scale conflict. Quote. If the battle at the border is lost, I am afraid it will be even more troublesome. Those people will not actively suppress the Uchiha clan, but our Uchiha clan has already suffered too much suppression. Things will inevitably turn back and conflicts will occur. This trick is very insidious. He believed that a large part of the tribe must want to take this opportunity to engage in action. But can he really do that? Taking a dilapidated Konoha is really good for the Uchiha clan. The coup was successful. Faced with a disobedient Uchiha, I am afraid that the order will be difficult to carry out. Baijing Uchiha's popularity is not very good, how many pairs of eyes in the village are watching them, it feels terrible to think about it. If the coup fails, the Uchiha clan will even be ruined by infamy. Obviously, that was not the result he wanted. Sarutobi is forcing Uchiha to submit. Itachi is very smart. At the age of 60, he can think of things from the perspective of Naruto, and he understands what the position of the deputy commander at the front line of the bones now represents. But there are some things that he doesn't know how to say. After a long silence, Itachi finally spoke. We can only follow orders and rush to the front. It is the mission of the Uchiha clan to guard the village. He couldn't talk about other things. This is the double agent of the village and Uchiha. He has no idea who he is and where he is standing. Standing up and leaving the living room, Itachi walked to the door and looked at the moon in the sky. Jianzang, if it were you, what would you do? Yinyan village. Create a small. Unlike Konoha, the first high-level meeting belonging to Yinyan village has just begun. Kenpachi sits at the top, and a captive Azabuyi from Cloud Shinobi village is giving him a massage. And what's doing below are the backbone members of Yinyan at this moment. Enko and Gurren, they are in charge of medical treatment and post-relief protection. Orochimaru, and the ninjas of Otoyakura behind him, manage the trivial matters of the village and part-time battles. The two brothers Hyuga Hiyashi and Hyuga Hazashi organize patrols to take charge of Otoyakura every day. The vigilance and safety. High level. It doesn't count, it's just an ordinary meeting. After all, there is a woman in a fire cloud suit in the corner listening to something with her ears upright. Today, I will mainly talk about the development of Yinyan village. Clicking the map on the table, Kenpachi said calmly. Orochimaru, tell me about my plan. Ant Snake nodded and stood up and pointed to the map. The country on it that borders Tanokuni has been circled. Came out. In short, the master's meaning includes 3 points. Subly, absorb, expansion, and the first goal of annexation is these countries. The combat aspect is mainly me and my people. What you are responsible for is to absorb their countries. Potentially talented people from within join the village. Quote. As for the rebels, there is only a dead end. The master of this plan is named Shenguo Plan. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 222 Lunatics, Yi Kenpachi and Uzumaki Nagato. Kingdom Plan. Really ideal country. Kenpachi has a series of reform plans brought from previous lives. But there is only one prerequisite for reforming the world, that is, there is only one voice in the entire world. Live it again, Kenpachi has his own wild Ishin. And the strength needed to complete the ambition is also increasing every day growing. Kenpachi knew that this was a lonely road, and there were only a few people who could stand behind him when he stepped on the summit. My intention is to let you and Orochimaru take charge of the battle formation together, but it seems that you don't seem to be interested. Quote. The meeting was over. Kenpachi came to the familiar hillside outside Yinyan village and waved his knife. Minato stood there quietly next to him. Although many people in the village have seen me, even the dead fourth Hokage can't recognize his new identity in a short time. I'm sorry, please give me time to adapt. Minato never wanted to stay overnight. Kenpachi's ambitions were so big. Do not stick to a certain village. From the very beginning, he set his sights on the whole world. If such ambitions are fulfilled by him, the world of ninja will undergo earth-shaking changes. Minato doesn't know if this is good or bad. At this time, he is just a little confused. When he finds a suitable position for him again, his confusion will disappear. Cut. Glancing at Minato, Kenpachi showed a little sarcasm on his face. And you guys who are yelling about working for world peace, but those who don't hesitate when a dispute arises are really speechless. That's right, after all, our philosophy is different. The pattern is not something that can be explained overnight, but I don't need idlers and waste, there is a task that you must complete. He took out a map and handed it to Minato. The symbol marked on it was the border between the country of fire and the country of thunder. You have dealt with Cloud Shinobi Village before, and you are very familiar with their combat effectiveness and their combat methods. There is only one thing I want you to do. Walking next to Minato, Kenpachi smiled and patted him on the shoulder, under the prerequisite of misfortune to leak himself, provide information to the Uchiha clan so that they can successfully repel Cloud Shinobi Village. Minato was stunned. In his cognition, Yi Kenpachi didn't have a cold with Konoha, and he could even describe it as dissatisfaction. This is understandable. After all, Kenpachi has made Konoha stand out from the beginning. And it was Konoha's mistake in the end. The village's persecution made him stand on the opposite side of Konoha. Even Minato sometimes wondered, if his methods were tougher at the time, and this man was completely preserved, would things turn out to be what they are today? He does not know. It is also impossible to guess the result. But is such a person now helping the Uchiha clan fight Cloud Shinobi Village? Is this a disguised help Konoha through the storm? Minato doesn't understand Kenpachi's approach. What is he going to do? Work hard, and when the whole thing is over, tell me your choice. Quote. Without talking to Minato too much, Kenpachi turned and left. Let the Uchiha clan successfully resist Cloud Shinobi Village, and then return to the village as the Konoha hero clan. Then things should be quite interesting, right? Originally, Kenpachi planned to go there in person, but he has a few things to do recently. The development of Yinyan village is bound to become a thorn in the eyes of other shinobi villages. The pattern of the 5 great ninja villages in the 5 big countries has been going on for a long time. They will never allow a large ninja village comparable to them to appear again, which would threaten their status. Also in this kind of thing, the 5 ninja villages will definitely show the same hatred of the enemy. When one's own interests are threatened, it is just like the 4th Ninja World War to jointly exclude foreigners. This is inertia. Therefore, in order to cope with the situation where the 5 major shinobu villages may join forces, Kenpachi wants to increase the combat effectiveness of Odogakura village. The first step is to transform the Hyuga clan. As the battle between Cloud Shinobi Village and Konoha has attracted the attention of those people, Kenpachi must be clear in advance. According to his idea, within 3 years, the entire Yinyan village will be completely renewed. The ninja world is never peaceful. Even the peaceful years have been full of undercurrents. Konoha and Cloud Shinobi Village are finally at war. This war, which is a continuation of the Third Ninja War, seems a bit abrupt, but there is no more possibility of stopping the war. Konoha think tank representative Nara Shikahisa and Uchiha Fugaku, the head of the Uchiha clan, were ordered to come. On the front line, Konoha's loss was shocking just after the first head-on conflict ended. As a fighting faction, Cloud Shinobi Village's combat effectiveness is too strong. Especially the many powerful ninjas of Konoha who died in the Nine Tails chaos. Yoya Kenpachi's men, so it's not so handy to deal with the enemy. If it weren't for the Uchiha clan's good fighting power, I'm afraid that the first round of head-on collision with Konoha's defense. The thread will collapse. Leading the team is 4th generation Yuying himself, as well as his younger brother. Classic AB combination. With the addition of the two-tailed Jinchuriki, a surprise team composed of wooden golem, the Hyuga clan's work was lost. Konoha, who was an investigative method, suffered heavy losses. The Uchiha clan is really strong. But after all, A clan is just a clan, and if the number of people is limited, it will only fail if you continue to fight like this. Patriarch Fugaku. In the temporary combat command room, Nara Shikajiu gave a wry smile and looked at Fugaku next to him. As Konoha's think tank, he knew that he shouldn't put on such an expression at this moment. But now he really does not have a good way to withdraw from the enemy. Cloud Shinobi Village is dispatched this time, with more than 6,000 ninja troops. And their Konoha is less than 4,000. A small half of them are from the Uchiha clan, and the other half are from the Inoshika Cho tribes plus Wood. Ye all the smashing force that can come up with combat power. After a few days of confrontation, Naruto had to admit a fact. If it is not the Uchiha clan who came this time, I am afraid that the front line has already been breached. The fighting power of that clan is strong and terrifying. Fugaku didn't speak, just sighed. Although it has only been a few days since the war, the number of deaths among the tribesmen has skyrocketed. If this continues, the entire Uchiha will probably have to be accounted for at the border. Like him, the Itachi behind him was also full of confusion. Before coming to the battlefield, he had seen too much and heard too much how the Uchiha clan reacted. News of Konoha's infidelity. But after he came, he discovered that it was his people who fought the most valiantly. This is the second time he has come to the battlefield. It is completely different from what I saw from the perspective of the 4-year-old for the first time. After having his own way of understanding, he understood one thing. That's the Uchiha clan, who stood firmly on Konoha's side and fell around. Yes, they are all his people. I have to admit one thing, that is, after losing the Hyuga clan, many of our investigators' segments and tactics are completely useless. After swallowing hard, Naruto said bitterly. Konoha's Hyuga clan used to be the eyes of ninja troops. But now my eyes are blind, and other methods of investigation have not been formulated. There will always be some perfection. Loopholes. This kind of loophole is fatal on the battlefield. So now he called Uchiha Fugaku over. The purpose is to develop a detailed investigation plan. If the Hyuga clan were there, how could there be so much trouble? Even Konoha's Hitomi family, Fugaku sighed at this moment. Byakugan's role on the battlefield is indeed great. Master Lu Ju. At this moment, a ninja suddenly walked into the meeting room. What's wrong? Quote. Frowning, Naruto asked. When I was patrolling just now, I found this thing outside, please have a look. The messenger took a note from his arms and handed it to the opponent. Tonight Cloud Shinobi Village will launch a sneak attack. After a long glance, Naruto was stunned. There is no doubt that this is information sent to them by someone. But who is the source? Why would he know such a secret thing? Could it be false information deliberately released by the enemy, trying to attract our attention and take the opportunity to accomplish other purposes? After taking a look at the information, Fugaku frowned and asked. Do not rule out this possibility, but it does no harm to us to be careful. If it is true, it may be an opportunity for us, if it is false, it will be a loss for us. Chief Fugaku has an idea. Quote. Not big. Quote. At the moment when he saw the information, Naruto's brain quickly reacted. After considering various possibilities, he understood what he should do. That night, just when everyone was extremely sleepy, the shouting and killing sounded loudly. But when the ninjas of Cloud Shinobi Village rushed into the Konoha camp, they suddenly found that they had been fooled. This is just an empty camp. At the same time, countless fires struck outside the camp. The detonating talisman exploded, and the ninjutsu smashed towards Daing. The battle with Cloud Shinobi Village finally ushered in Konoha's turning point. I said, you shouldn't let them on the battlefield. A few days later, the intelligence from the border was passed back to Konoha. In the Naruto office, Danzo appeared in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen on time. Konoha Shinobi's troops passed back a good news. It was exciting news, but Danzo was obviously not happy. Because of this credit, it belongs to the frontline ninja who participated in this battle, not to him. An embarrassing military exploit. Thousands of Cloud Shinobi Village ninjas who raided Konoha camp have gone and never returned. It's fine if someone else gets the credit, but the news from Naruto is clear. The Uchiha family has done a great job. Obviously, this is not the news he wants to hear. It went well. Without paying attention to Danzo, Sarutobi lit the big pipe and his eyes flickered. The front line has stabilized. But this time, he has no plans to transfer the Uchiha family back. Hero. I don't know if Uchiha can bear the weight of the hero. Sarutobi, what on earth are you going to do? Let Uchiha do a good job at this juncture, this is not catching up. Are you trying to make the villages recognize them? If you do this, Mr. Tobarama's previous deployment will be useless. Danzo said solemnly. Just watch it carefully. Sarutobi glanced at Danzo calmly. I have thought of everything you can think of. Look with your eyes. In this way, time will prove everything. The war continues. In a certain direction ignored by Shinobu Village's gaze, Yinyan Village began its own actions. In just half a year, relying on the strong fighting power of the Orochimaru and Hyuga clan, they have already used force. When moving, Kenpachi also left Yinyan Village, and no news was delivered back for half a year. This forced Orochimaru to be cautious in his next move. If it expands again, it will also face risks. So he needs clear instructions from Kenpachi. Finally, that day the man returned. And there was a strange man on his shoulder. Man without eyes. Don't let him die. I need you to help me grow his cells. If I grow a container, I will find a way. Throwing Ōtsutsuki Yadodo to the ground, Kenpachi looked at the changing Odogyo village with a satisfied smile. In half a year, the development of Yinyan village exceeded his expectations. The surrounding countries have all surrendered, but those with good talents have been drawn back to Yinyan village to receive education, and they will become the main fighting force of Yinyan village in the future. As for his 6 months of time, Kenpachi did not feel wasted. Absorbing the Golden Wheel Tenseigen, and grabbing the Ōtsutsuki Sharon, are all part of Kenpachi's plan. The Ōtsutsuki family, the Ōtsutsuki known as the pure blood, can even rely on the blood to forcibly awaken the Tenseigen. This thing is absolutely no problem for raising the Hyuga clan. Kenpachi never expected that Byakugan, whose cells were nourished, could successfully awaken and turn the bull's eye. Only the purity of Byakugan would be enough. Coupled with the power of Hollow, there is no reason why the fighting power of the Hyuga clan is still so weak. He wants to completely transform the Hyuga clan and let them become his arms. It's a pity that he tried to communicate with Ōtsutsuki Kagaya, but failed. As for the following, only one thing needs to be done. I want to see Nagato. For half a year, Konan occasionally came to Yinyan village to inquire about Kenpachi Knight. But Kenpachi never showed up. Instead, Orochimaru took the initiative to help complete his task, and Nagato didn't say anything about it. The increasing combat effectiveness of Yinyan village has become a threat. There is no doubt about this. Yeah, Nagato wants to talk to you. The words have already been said. Konan didn't evade anything, and brought Kenpachi to Rain Shinobi village. Turning around, he finally saw the long black rods inserted behind him in a closed room. The lines of reincarnation in his eyes, who were as thin as wood, looked very hideous. Why bother? Sighing, Kenpachi walked up to Nagato's face step by step. This is the first time the two have met. But in a sense, both of them are lunatics. A lunatic who wants to change the world. What's the meaning? Glancing at Kenpachi calmly, Nagato asked. Means nothing. I simply think it's very hard to see you, Rinnegan, and I'm just curious. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, and Kenpachi stretched out his fingers. And just as he made this kind of action, Konan wanted to stop it as if he was on the verge of an enemy. But when the green light shrouded Nagato Mountain to repair his body, Konan was stunned. Helping Nagato. Why? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 221 These eyes do not belong to you. Is it really good for the two of them to contact? In Rain Shinobi village, Obito and Black Zetsu appeared on a roof outside Akatsuki's base. At this time, Black Zetsu looked at Obito with worry on his face. Maybe other people's eyes are on Konoha's battle with Rain Shinobi village, but he has been paying attention to the development of Shinobi village. In just half a year, Shinobu's actions were surprisingly big. Regardless of the scale or the combat power in hand, the current Yinyan village has reached a point that cannot be ignored. If it continues to develop, I am afraid it will affect the future project Tsuki no Mi. It is not good for them to contact nature. Quote. But do you have a way to block it? Obito said lightly. He did not expect Nagato to meet Kenpachi. It is also impossible to determine what the two of them will talk about here. But from the perspective that Kenpachi knew that pain was not the main body, it could be analyzed that the man knew more about the situation than expected. You have to prepare for the worst. What have you done? The skinny body has become healthy again, and even his hair is more ruddy than before. In terms of the special physique of the Uzumaki family, the color of the hair proves whether the vitality is strong. And now, except for the pair of legs that were still destroyed by the bombing, there is not much change in Nagato's body. The physical state has been restored. What a magical power this is. He clenched his fist and felt healthy again, which made him feel incredible. This is a power that Rinnegan does not possess. Who is this man in front of you? Just when he held out his finger, he had never seen the blue halo in his eyes. What is the 60 west of the pattern that is like the world? Even resonated with his Rinnegan. The power of Tenseigen is only the tip of the iceberg, no need to marvel, because this is something you cannot understand. Things. Kenpachi shook his head and didn't want to explain too much. After absorbing the Golden Wheel Tenseigen, Kenpachi gained some power that he didn't originally possess. Including this power of restoring other people's machines, if you insist on explaining it, it's more similar to the research done by Chiyo. The one that came out has been transferred to technique. But Kenpachi itself has the powerful power of high-speed regeneration, although it has not yet reached the highest level. But his vitality has far exceeded other people's imagination. The vitality restored by Nagato is completely restored with just one breath. For him, there is no discomfort, but for Nagato, this kind of carelessness is extremely precious. Therefore, the prerequisites for the negotiation have been reached. Kenpachi won't continue to roundabouts next. Blink of an eye. Nagato nodded and wrote down the strange name. There is no need to be vigilant at this moment. Judging from the performance of this man in front of him, at least he is not malicious, and it is the achievement of Akatsuki. Member, to be sure, he doesn't have much thoughts about Rinnegan. Most importantly, he helped him regain his vitality. It means that he is not afraid of his own strength. Of course, this does not mean that Nagato can let go of all recognition of Kenpachi. I think we should be able to have a good chat. Summoning pulled out a chair and sat on it. Kenpachi tilted his head and showed his energy. Geto statue, let me use it for half a year. That's right. This is one of the purposes of Yi Kenpachi joining Akatsuki. Obtain the Geto statue to cultivate the cells of the Ōtsutsuki Sharon, and then use the Ōtsutsuki Sharon cells. Cells enhance the purity of the Hyuga clan. Just like Madara grows Senju Hashirama's cells, Kenpachi also needs a container full of vitality. Nagato is not Madara. His method of controlling the Geto statue is not to connect the pipe with the Geto statue. Using the black stick, he does not need to rely on the vitality of the Geto statue like Madara to survive. So Geto statue is just a mobile toilet he used to collect tail beasts. Now, Project Tsuki no Mi has not started, and even one tail has not been captured, so the Geto statue has not been. Summoning came out and patted the floor. It was of no use other than serving as a meeting place for Akatsuki's staff. You seem to know Rinnegan well, and you know all about Geto statue. Nagato had doubts on his face. The tail beasts have not yet been collected, so no one knows the purpose of the golem except him and Madara. But the person in front of him seemed to understand what that thing meant. But do you borrow the Geto statue? What is he going to do? As he said, the tail beasts have not yet started collecting, so the Geto statue is in an idle state. It's no big deal to borrow. But only Rinnegan can control the Geto statue. Nagato knows that even if the other party has the so-called Tenseigan can no longer be manipulated, so borrowing can only be borrowed. It is indeed very understanding, even you know it more thoroughly than you know. Kenpachi grinned, and instantly pulled out Zanpakuto into the ground, and everything seemed calm for a moment. Stopped, an invisible barrier shrouded the room. Some words, he obviously didn't want others to hear. Like your pair of Rinnegan, they don't actually belong to you. Kenpachi stood up, walked to Nagato's side step by step, and spoke in a gentle voice that made Nagato thoroughly. The words were stunned. It's been 3 hours, what did they say? Outside the room, Black Zetsu and Obito slowly appear. Inquiring about intelligence was originally their strong point, so they wanted to secretly lurking in the room. Eavesdrop. But after I came, I discovered that the room had already opened the barrier. This barrier was not just for the body, and even the soul would be affected if you wanted to enter. So until now, the two of them don't know the content of the conversation, which is very detrimental to them. It is also proof that Yi Kenpachi intends to defend himself. What are they talking about? Obito's heart was a little disturbed. Creak. Finally, the door of the room opened. What surprised Obito and Black Zetsu was that Nagato was sitting in a wheelchair, and pain pushed. He walked out with Kenpachi. He is different. Glancing at Nagato's hair, Obito was a little shocked. He knew Rinnegan's load very well. When Yahiko was willing to die under Nagato, at that moment, Nagato and Geto statue were completely connected. Also directly emptied Nagato's body. But now Nagato looks quite healthy. Although there was still a black rod stuck in his body, it didn't seem to have any bad reactions. What is going on? Obito wants to chat with Nagato now. Oh, isn't this the senior Akatsuki who calls himself Uchiha Madara? Kenpachi grinned and walked to Obito to speak actively. He had met Obito, and he did teach Itachi a good lesson when he was a kid. But after he has joined Akatsuki for so long, Obito appeared in front of him for the first time. It can be seen that this guy is hiding from himself. I guess I can't help it today, I really want to know the content of my chat with Nagato, that's why I showed up. For him, Nagato is the most important piece. Now that the chess piece is out of control, I guess he will be very anxious. Snapped. Suddenly the palm of his hand rested on Obito's shoulder. Kenpachi's mouth was close to the ear under his mask. I didn't finish what I said to you that time. You know, the real Chiba Madara, even if he is old to bones, he will not cover his face. Masks. Quote. From this point alone, you can't be him. Kamui couldn't use it. The surrounding space seems to be blocked. Obito's Sharingan is full of shock. He has no doubt that Kenpachi wants to die him like. Die with an ant. Who is he? A kid can definitely have such power. Yi Kenpachi and I go out to do errands, and it won't be too long. Nagato behind him suddenly broke the deadlock. The calm look made Obito even more invisible to Nagato. Obito has always believed that Nagato has identified himself as his leader with Rinnegan. Even the people in Akatsuki's organization don't know that the real leader is him. Under this premise, he can easily see through Nagato's heart, including Nagato's doubts about him. But it was the first time he saw such a peaceful Nagato. And what happened to Nagato's body? Why is the vitality absorbed by Rinnegan restored? There are many doubts, but he has no idea where to start the investigation. Knight Kenpachi. What did this man and Nagato say? Let's go. People like Obito Kenpachi didn't bother to have any intersection with him. It's not like disgusting, it's not like it. In terms of facts, what this man can see is DOC's failed counterattack. Does Lin really like him? Isn't it really his own fantasy to make sure that Obito was caught by Lin at the end of the book and left? These issues Kenpachi does not intend to go into the details. The only thing that made him a little nauseous was that he would be stunned by Naruto's mouth. That is the man who forcibly regained control from the will of Ten Tails. With such a will, why not follow your own path firmly? Of course, the most disgusting thing is Naruto's sentence "I understand you." It's just farting. You understand Obito and hold hands with him. Do you understand the pain that Neji, who was killed by Obito's control of Ten Tails, felt before he died? Do you understand your innocent mother again? Just a joke. Compared to being the person, I am afraid that Naruto is the one who really lives in the dream. Release Obito. Kenpachi and Nagato, and Konan, who came out at the end, slowly leave. Obito and Black Zetsu were left standing there for a long time without speaking. What's happening today is not a small excitement for Obito. Nagato recovered, but with the help of Kenpachi. Is this chess piece still in control? Obito can only put a question mark in his heart. How to do? After a long time, Black Zetsu broke the calm and asked in a low voice. Let's take a look first, there is no need to turn your face right now. Also, Nagato did not show any emotions of resistance, so I observed it for a period of time. Obito took a deep breath and looked at the shoulder he had just grabbed. There are no traces on it, but the fact that he can't use Kamui right after he was caught makes him extraordinarily care. Kamui is the pupil technique on which he lives. But now it's easily cracked. Once this kind of thing happened, it would leave an indelible shadow in his heart. It proves that Bajian has the ability to kill him. It was too careless to appear in front of him this time. Nagato's changes are 100% related to Kenpachi, but no matter what, he doesn't want. At night, Kenpachi and Nagato walked too close. How are Uchiha and Cloud Shinobi Village playing? Type 5. Black Zetsu asked. It's kind of weird. Cloud Shinobi Village is deployed all the time, AB combination and active on the front line. According to this kind of combat power, even the Uchiha clan cannot resist for so long in the front. Quote. But the border is clearly still in Konoha's hands. They resisted the attacks of Cloud Shinobi Village again and again, and it is estimated that they will enter a tug of war next. Black Zetsu analyzed. In this case, you find an opportunity to disclose the development of Yinyan Village to the major Shinin villages, so that they understand that Yinyan Village has become a threat, and you can disclose it in the name of Kurigakure. It can be exaggerated. After all, Orochimaru killed so many ninjas by Kurigakure alone. There must be a problem. Let them investigate by themselves, and it is best to attack Ōtsutsuki village. After thinking about it, Obito understood what he should do. But thinking about it is also a little angry. According to his thoughts, those who want to get Byakugan's blood succession limit ninja village should have done it a long time ago. But it has been delayed until now. I really don't know what those bastards think. You mean, use Shinobu village to kill Kenpachi? Black Zetsu suddenly said, but Obito, are you sure that guy will really be killed? If 2.2 he knew that we were playing tricks behind his back, I'm afraid he would find trouble. Trouble? Obito sneered. Has he found less trouble? Since he will walk to the opposite side sooner or later, there is nothing wrong with tearing his face. And he can't think Kurigakure is under my control. Even if he fought the joint attack of the 5 ninja villages in the end, he wouldn't get me revenge. I hope so. Black Zetsu didn't answer, just let Obito toss. As long as this kid don't forget the ultimate goal, everything is fine. To be honest, I wanted to study this thing a long time ago. 3 days later, in the underground secret laboratory of Odogyo village, Orochimaru looked at the Gedo statue in front of him and his eyes were full. The color of heat. Only Rinnegan can summoning things, and he wants to understand how it is constructed. Is half a year enough? Nagato in the wheelchair looks at Kenpachi. It should be enough. It is just the task of cultivating cells without consuming much energy of the Gedo statue. Quantity. Kenpachi shrugged, but according to what I said, it's best not to have a fight with Obito. Contact alone. I'm not that stupid, you don't have to worry over there, you won't show any flaws. Quote. Nagato shook his head, knowing a lot of the truth, he didn't panic at all. Resurrect Uchiha Madara with the revolving heaven health technique. Sorry, he has no interest. His dream has not changed, it is still world peace. But this time, he changed direction. For example, choose to believe in the man in front of you and give up Obito. Having learned the truth from the beginning, he calmed down, and he thought about a lot of things along the way. And using these other people's eyes to use the residual heat is his last thought. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 222 Hidden Sword Village, Familiar Visitors. Konoha 55 years. The war on the border is finally over. But this time the war was fruitless. It is also impossible to declare which side has won the victory. Neither Cloud Shinobi Village nor Konoha will openly declare that they are a winner. This is a weird war. The beginning is clear, but the process is very strange. Yingkyun was also full of doubts about the war. They want to know why every time their troops move, Konoha can accurately inform the master to fight against them. For example, when they attack at night, Konoha's ninja will always perceive and resist in advance. When they want to bypass the defense line of fire and go deep inside, they will also be blocked by Konoha for the first time and unable to move forward. This kind of information leakage leaves them behind everywhere and loses a lot. But where does this question come from? They can't find the answer. However, the reason for the truce is not just a matter of intelligence leakage. It's that they have woken up from the war. After fighting Konoha for so long, the logistics supplies of the two villages were under tremendous pressure. Besides, the actions of other shinobu villages began to become more frequent. Especially Onoki of Iwagakure, who has a feud with the country of Need, has sent ninjas to infiltrate Cloud Shinobi village. It is hard to say that Iwagakure will not intervene in the next battle. Once Iwagakure joins the battlefield, things will become more complicated. Neither the country of wind nor the country of water will stand still and take action. At that time the real battle will begin. And after a stalemate with Konoha for so long, Cloud Shinobi village also has a lot of consumption. It is not good for them to open the real battlefield with this attitude. Therefore, the truce is an inevitable result. However, compared to Cloud Shinobi village, Konoha is the one who is truly relieved. This troubled village finally withstood the continuous impact of the Third Ninja War and the Nine Tails Chaos, and suffered a more terrifying attack than the Nine Tails Chaos, followed by the declaration of war by Cloud Shinobi village. But today, they finally survived. Is there light at the end of darkness? Roughly 21. When Uchiha Fugaku and Itachi showed up at the entrance of Konoha village with the few hundred remaining members of the Uchiha clan, there was only silence on their faces. Although knowing that it is impossible, deep down in my heart, I still expect that the people of this village will greet them like heroes. No, maybe you don't need to reduce the weight that much. Even if it's a few people, even if there are none, it's okay to show a look that looks forward to returning. My patriarch, I heard that when Naruto returned with those people half a year ago, Hokage personally led the villagers. The Uchiha clan next to him wanted to continue talking, but he met Fugaku's calm eyes. Yes, come back from the battlefield in batches. After the armistice was confirmed half a year ago, Naruto returned to the village with the people from the Naruto faction, and he was regarded as a hero, Gaizan, who was regarded as a hero. But the Uchiha clan who came back last, the most desperate frontline, did not receive that kind of treatment. This sense of gap caused the people behind Fugaku to hold their fists empty in their hearts. They are so desperate on the front line. What is it for? Lost. Fugaku sighed and turned to look at his son. My father. Itachi nodded respectfully. Several years of battlefield career has made Itachi a lot of maturity, and he has completely transformed from that little devil into a heavy-minded young man. On the front line, we are warriors who are brave enough to kill the enemy and worthy of their own hearts. But when we return to the village, we are the Zebo clan who has been suspected and distrusted. So if it were you, what kind of role would you choose to last? Itachi was silent for a while, and finally did not give his own answer. What can he say? One family, one village. He could not see the two clearly. What a ridiculous shackle, if everyone can only hold these in their hearts, the meaning of life is also restricted. Jien sang. I want to chat with you now. The Uchiha clan returned to the village. But at the same time, they seemed to have heard some not so good rumors. It's still the familiar Nanhekwan. The place where Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama grew up. But now, no one remembers that the concept of shinobu is actually two children sitting. What the villagers discussed here knows that they are in dire straits and their inner feelings for first generation. Excited. The establishment of Shinobu village gave shelter for a short time, but it triggered a real large-scale war, just like. As Madara said, the war started immediately after the death of first generation. But this time it was not a battle between families, it rose to the height of the country, and the number of deaths increased by many times than before. For this distorted world, war is only one part of it. The flowing river never stops like the wheel of history. Itachi and Shisui sat on the rock in silence. Shisui did not participate in the war this time. It's not that he doesn't want to go. But since joining the Roots, there is no freedom to speak of, he who directly obeys Danzo thinks. To go to the battlefield, unless Danzo is unified. Pity. Danzo didn't give him this chance. The war is over. Suddenly smiled, Shisui lay on the rock with his head in his hands and broke the calm. Tell me. Itachi, how did you spend the past few years? How do you live? Itachi lowered his head, the pictures in his mind made him feel even more depressed. Except for witnessing hundreds of tribesmen dying under the enemy's hands, there is no other feeling. Is that so? Shisui gave a wry smile. I always feel that Itachi returned to Konoha this time and made some changes. There are some things in Seping that have been hidden in his heart, not wanting to say it. Oh, right. Quote. We can hold on forever and resist Cloud Shinobi village for so long, except for the Uchiha clan. In addition to the fighting power of Nara and Naraluji's strategy, there are other reasons to take out a note from her body and pass it to Shisui. Itachi frowned. At the beginning of the war, there was a mysterious man who kept providing precious information to Konoha, and this information has never been missed. Every time Cloud Shinobi Village has an action, he can always give an accurate message. Let us do it in advance. Prepare. This is his handwriting. Quote. Taking Itachi's note and reading it, Shisui frowned suddenly. Anything to find? Itachi asked curiously. Some familiarity. I seem to have seen it somewhere. Shisui shook his head and returned the note to Itachi. But you can see that someone is helping Konoha and help Uchiha Madara. Who do you think it will be? Quote. Who is protecting Konoha? Wrong. Suddenly, Itachi was stunned and looked at Shisui. He seems to have found what he has been thinking about. The purpose of that person is not just to protect Konoha, but to protect Uchiha. Shisui, do you know the news of Jianzhang over the past few years? The whole village. No, it's the entire ninja world. Only one person can stand up to protect the Uchiha clan. Jianzhang. It's definitely him. The purpose of protecting Uchiha is better than protecting him. Itachi is very smart, and sometimes a little clue can clarify a lot of ideas. I am looking for you today, actually for this matter. Shisui showed a bitter face, took out the scroll from his arms and handed it to Itachi. This is. Picking up the scroll, Itachi slowly opened it with some expectation. It's not a good thing. Shisui sighed. Kenpachi has always been with Orochimaru after leaving Konoha, but according to reliable sources, he actually subdued the snake-like man. Worthy of you. Jien sang. Unlike Shisui's concerns, Itachi is not worried about this because he knows that no one can restrain that person. Jianzhang has already lived the way he wants to live. After the Hyuga clan, he established his own ninja village. At the beginning, the ninja village was named Odogakura, but according to reliable information, they now define the name of Shinobu village as the Hidden Sword Village. Quote. The logo of Forehead Protector was originally a musical note, but now it has become a crossed sword and sword. The world referred to as Jien Ren. Sword Forbearance. As expected of you, Jianzhang. Ninja village has been established. Itachi is very pleased. I said Itachi, don't you think the matter is serious? Shisui looked at Itachi's expression and the corners of her mouth twitched. What is serious? Jianzhang is pursuing his own way of life. Asked with a strange look. I really convinced you. Shisui was speechless when he patted his forehead. Don't forget that Kenpachi's identity is good, he is Konoha. Konoha's Renin, and now Konoha's Renin has established his own ninja village, and is still expanding in all directions. How can this kind of thing be recognized by other people? A bigger war. Of course, there is the most important point. Quote. Shisui's forehead oozes a trace of sweat. Did you forget that time we and Kenpachi said here? What happened? He said that if he really becomes a leader one day, he will subvert the entire the world, completely end the troubled times. Yes. This is the ambition that several people talked about when they were young. When talking about this topic, Yi Kenpachi mentioned two directions. 1. One person and one sword, free and easy travel in the world of ninja. 2 or 3 people around are enough. And second, it is the pinnacle world. At that time they thought it was just a joke, but now it looks so real. What he is doing now is the second way. Subvert the world. Itachi was silent for a while, but then he said a sentence that made Shisui extremely unfamiliar. Even so what? Our Shisui-san thinks that this world is still saved. From the time the Uchiha clan returned to the village, you should be able to tell the attitude of the villagers. I won't endure for too long. I will choose you when the time comes, or how will I choose? I even think the time I have spent these years is wasted. Quote. After a pause, Itachi shook his head. He didn't say a word afterwards. That is, if he can, he even wants to immediately appear in front of Jianzhang and follow him. Later, let's see with my own eyes how Jianzhang will overturn the world and completely calm the troubled times. What have you experienced in the past few years outside? Shisui sighed, but as a close friend. He didn't intend to forget it. Maybe after you see it with your own eyes, you will understand the seriousness of the matter. It's just right. You read the content of the scroll. It was the task that Master Danzo arranged for me. The content is to investigate everything in Sword Ninja Village. Come with me. Go to Sword Ninja Village and use your eyes to see what is posted there. 640. Together, Itachi opened his mouth and was obviously agitated. Sword Ninja Village. Jianzhang. It's much slower than expected. I really didn't expect it. Yinyan Village. No, it should be called the Hidden Sword Village at this moment, and now Orochimaru has become Kenpachi's hand. So this ninja village has undoubtedly been completely given to Kenpachi as a gift. In the underground laboratory. Wearing a white robe, Orochimaru glanced at the information in his hand, and said respectfully to Kenpachi. Well, after all, Kimimaro has a special physique. But success is a good thing. With appreciation and shock in his eyes, Kenpachi's eyes are always in front of the huge glassware. Inside the pan, a huge bone dragon is watching Kenpachi on the ground. Just a few days ago, Hollow's experiment had a major breakthrough. Kenpachi found that after the combination of blood succession boundary and Hollow, the non-original blood succession boundary will be greatly increased. In addition to the picture, it will also trigger some kind of upgrade, such as the bone dragon in front of you. He is Kimimaro. At this moment, he has not regained consciousness, he belongs to the form of returning to the blade that cannot be controlled when he is unconscious. Bone dragon. Is this the culmination of dead bone pulse? Kenpachi took a deep breath and was relieved. Kimimaro's experiment can be put aside, but Kabuto and Guren's. How is chakra's assimilation done? To be honest, I just borrowed the Gedo statue from Nagato for half a year, and now I have used nearly 5. The year ended. Guru. The spirits poured into his throat. Kenpachi's gaze fell on Orochimaru. I'm very embarrassed. Ashamed. Orochimaru's first reaction was to kneel down blushing. He is ashamed. He used to crouch down to Heiko, saying that this kind of thing only takes half a year. How can I know Ōtsutsuki shi? Human chakra and cells are so difficult to analyze. Well, forget it. Get up. I don't mean to blame you, but I think I will return the Gedo statue to the. Conan's bitch chattered at the door. With a breath, Kenpachi sat in the chair behind him, admiring the bone dragon. The host can rest assured that within a week, I will personally arrange for the Hyuga clan to make changes. Make a plan, and then combine the forces that will come, and then the Gedo statue will not be of much use. But if it can, Just when Orochimaru wanted to say something, he suddenly raised his head and looked at a certain position. Master, an acquaintance is here. With a blazing glow in his eyes, Orochimaru showed a sense of warfare. It's okay to greet you, pay attention to your sense of measure. You should know that Itachi is my person. Subordinates understand. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 223 Susanoo, are you looking down on the power of Orochimaru that God gave me? On a hill outside Jonjian village, 2 figures slowly fell. And when their eyes fell on this village, they were suddenly stunned. Everything in front of them gave them an unreal illusion in an instant. Standing on a high place overlooking the hidden village of swords, the shape of the entire village crosses a sword and a sword, forehead protector. Fang, the residential areas at the end of the sword are extremely tidy. The regular streets that include commerce, construction, and education are more intricate than those in other round territories of Ninja Village. If someone tells Itachi and Shisui at this moment, the village in front of them was just a humble place before. They would never believe in the shabby land. Everything in Sword Hidden Village is announced to the outside world, even if that man defected to Konoha, he can still do it. Live the life that people yearn for. And most importantly, the hidden village of Sword at this moment is larger and more magnificent than Konoha. Yi Kenpachi is using his strength to tell everyone in the ninja world his talents in managing the village. This is a naked face hitting Konoha. What kind of talents did our village let go? After a long time, Shisui swallowed and said, not to mention combat effectiveness. This is also a rare talent for village management alone. Although the distance is a little far away, the two can feel the atmosphere in this village different from Konoha. Everything is in order, steadily moving forward without rush. You can even feel the emotions of the villagers inside. I really want to get in. Itachi lowered his hair and let out a sigh, and Shisui smiled bitterly and shook his head. Someone once asserted that the Hyuga clan who left Konoha were digging their graves, and even said that compared to for Konoha, the real villain is Kenpachi. If the Hyuga clan chooses to fall into the night of Kenpachi, it won't take long for them to move towards. It's not what my eyes see. Quote. After a pause, Shisui seemed a little emotional. Because I have to come to Jonyan village in person these days, I have collected a lot of information about Jonyan now. Village intelligence. The Hyuga family had a very good time. What surprised me most was that Kenpachi let the stodgy Hyuga A. Patriarch Hyuga Hiyashi abolished the seal on caged bird. Abolished caged bird. Itachi was stunned. Isn't that to protect the absolute seal set by the clan family? Even if it is the banner of Jonyan village, the village chief cannot interfere in the private affairs of the family. I know what you are wondering. Kenpachi said a word about this. Showing admiration, Shisui took a deep breath. He said that, as the village chief, it is not his turn to spare no effort to protect himself. If you can't do it, you can only say that the village chief is too wasteful. Furthermore, Kenpachi has proved this with practical actions. Over the years, Qian has approached Jonyan village without authorization. None of the people ended up well. It was just commonplace to be thrown back to his village in a strange place. What was even more terrifying was his means of revenge. How many people do you send? He will have more than 10 times the number of corpses in that village. Quote. Simple and straightforward. The atmosphere fell strangely silent. The two looked at each other and sighed. No matter from which point of view, Shisui said just now, no, it's what Yi Kenpachi said. I always felt that I was cursing third Hokage. Isn't the person who can't protect his villagers their third Hokage? He didn't protect him well, and even treated the Hyuga clan as a compensation for the peace talks. There are indeed some things like this. It's a shame to say that it's a waste. The villagers may not know the inside story, but as the ninja of Anbu and the roots, he will be a cow that day. They are very clear about what happened. Especially in the end, third generation gave the Hyuga clan the hat of rebellion. Perhaps just as Jianzhang said. Face words. Sarutobi Hiruzen is probably gone for a long time. 2. Come here, why don't you go in and sit down? But when the two of them felt a lot of emotion, a calm voice suddenly came from behind them. Someone. Who? Turning their heads suddenly, Itachi and Shisui's eyes were extremely shocked, and they instantly took out their weapons and looked at them. Is a familiar person. Orochimaru. The man who claims to have completely followed Yi Kenpachi. But he is completely different at this moment. The past cold aura, the cold killing intent like a snake can't be felt at all. Shisui and Itachi, the two of them were active in the Third Ninja War, and they were called Instantaneous Shisui. The other has just returned from the battlefield and has fought head-on many times with the ninjas of Cloud Shinobi Village. It is not an exaggeration to say that they are elite. But even for them, they didn't find Orochimaru behind them. What does this show? If this man can suddenly do something, I am afraid they are already cold corpses at the moment. It's not that they underestimate themselves, but that the distance between the two of them and Orochimaru is so close at this moment, that it is Kuwadu who can pierce their bodies at such a distance, but he did not perceive his existence. This kind of mistake is impossible even in deep sleep. Why? He is clearly murderous, but he can only find out when he looks at the other person. The angle of view turns. Nowhere else can I even perceive what Orochimaru has experienced over the past few years. Why has such a drastic change occurred? Orochimaru. At the same time, Shisui and Itachi quickly withdrew to a distance that they believed to be safe, watching with vigilant faces. To the front. Although I don't know why Orochimaru didn't do it just now, but since it's him, there must be him. Reason. As a Konoha shinobi, it is definitely not a good thing to meet shinobi at this moment. Itachi-kun, Shisui-kun, long time no see. Compared to Shisui and Itachi, Orochimaru's performance is extremely calm. Whether it is before, now, or in the future. After Orochimaru chose a completely different path, these two people are no longer what he coveted. There was only one figure in his heart at this time. No, not only the heart but even the soul is carved with the appearance of a man. Knight Kenpachi. A well-deserved god. He once sneered at Pain's mouth and shut his mouth and pretended to be a god. Yes, Orochimaru doesn't like Rinnegan. He was curious at best. It's not that he didn't know that it was the eyes of Sage of Six Paths, in fact, for Rinnegan's research. He also dabbles. But he still looks down on it. The reason is also very simple and real. That is, even if it is Sage of Six Paths, it is still no match for the years to die. Yes, even Sage of Six Paths, he will die. Therefore, Sage of Six Paths is not a god, and Pain just inherited the eyes of Sage of Six Paths. Why is it called a god? Ōtsutsuki Hagoromo is naturally unworthy. The true god will not die. He will only appear in the biography if he dies. He was speaking rather than standing in front of them alive, but when he knew the power of the soul, he suddenly discovered how his gaze was. It is plain that God exists. And always live by his side. The man who gave him eternal life is God. He is willing to break his own cognition, completely prostrate at the feet of God, and become a respectful servant of God. Facts have proved how correct his choice is. He saw the changes in Yinyan village. Once he also wanted to become the head of a village and use his actions to surpass his own teacher. This Yinyan village is his dream. But now he realized that everything was so ridiculous, when Kenpachi's plan was delivered to him. He realized how big the gap between the two is. It's only been a few years now. After Yinyan village was renamed Jonjian village, it has undergone earth-shaking changes. Even he Orochimaru can be sure. The so-called 5 ninja villages are a joke in front of Jonjian village. Just relying on the Hollow and the Hyuga family that has absorbed the cells of the Ōtsutsuki Shi is enough to crush several times. The enemy above, and those terrorist weapons hidden in the underground laboratory, just take out one, will make people. Fear spreads. Have you ever seen a bone dragon hundreds of meters long after being fully extended? After seeing Guiyan, Honglian's overwhelming crystal flower is still young, but it can be frozen in one. Is the mountain white? You must have never seen it before. Including the gentle fist method after the Hyuga clan upgraded. The funny thing is, due to the particularity of the Hyuga clan, the shape of their weapons after returning to the blade is extremely uniform. It seems to be called an exclusive glove. Yes, that's what the master called. Looking back, Orochimaru felt a little funny looking at the two extremely vigilant men in front of him. Konoha's two Uchiha geniuses, when did they become so courageous? But that's right. After all, if I want to kill you, you were already dead just now, police. It should be vigilant. Quote. Touching his chin, Orochimaru gave a playful smile. It seems that the owner said, you can welcome it, don't overplay it. The meaning of going overboard is also obvious. Don't play around without killing them. Perhaps it can be understood this way. Itachi. Without talking to Orochimaru, Shisui gave a look. The tacit understanding between friends does not require them to say too much. Itachi nodded, and in an instant the two began to print simultaneously. Fire style. Great fireball technique. Wind style. Great breakthrough. Call. The originally highly skilled great fireball became extremely fierce under the blessing of wind style. The wind helps the fire. The huge great fireball seems to want to submerge Orochimaru in an instant. What puzzled Shisui and Itachi is that the man just stood there and didn't even avoid it. Idea. Is it the shadow clone to lure the enemy? But even if it is shadow clone, if it disappears worthlessly, it is just a waste of chakra, right? If it is shadow clone, where is the real body? At the same time, Miyu appeared in the pupils of Itachi and Shisui, carefully observing Orochimaru's body. But that flawless appearance is not a feature that shadow clone should have. What happened? At the moment of doubt, the great fireball burst completely to submerge Orochimaru's body. Did you make it? Observing the center of the flame carefully, Shisui asked. Jianzhang once told me that you must not say this when fighting. Quote. Itachi narrowed his eyes and looked over. Did you make it? That must have been unsuccessful. When the fire dissipated, Orochimaru still stood there calmly, not receiving it from the outside. How can it be too hurt? Shisui frowned. But it is recognized that the human body is indeed very weak, and sometimes a kunwu is enough to kill, but there is no way to hurt under this kind of flame. How can it be? He can be sure that there was no chakra fluctuation in the center of the flame just now. This means that the opponent is simply using his body to withstand ninjutsu attacks. Even combined ninjutsu. Ahead, Orochimaru moved slowly. But then his actions made Itachi and Shisui feel violent humiliation. Slap. That person actually just slapped the dust on his body and said two words. Good. Quote. This situation is like Uchiha Madara facing countless ninja coalition forces during the Fourth Ninja War. The affirmation from the enemy was originally comforting, but now he and Itachi don't have that kind of heart. So, is it me? With a weird smile, the next moment, Orochimaru's body disappeared instantly. It is completely different from Fey Need God and other space ninjutsu. This speed is achieved with pure physical power. Even if it was the Sharingan of the two, only one afterimage could be seen. Boom. The earth shattered and the hills collapsed. When everything returned to calm, Itachi, who was kicked aside by Shisui, widened his eyes and watched the scene in front of him. Shisui blocked the attack for him. But his body is now being wrapped under the strange emerald green bones. This is Susanoo, and Orochimaru's unpretentious head was stuck on it. Looking around at the mess, Itachi opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. Can pure strength reach this level? Why did Orochimaru become a ninja? What? Looking at Shisui in front of him, Orochimaru's calm eyes suddenly became angry. But neither Itachi nor Shisui knew where Orochimaru's anger came from. Just the weakest first form. You used this level of defense to resist my attack. Just Susanoo. Uchiha Shisui, do you despise me again? No, you could look down on the power that the great god bestows on me. Blow down. The power of the fist rose suddenly, and in just an instant, Shisui wrapped his green bones and shattered instantly. There is no time to worry about the pain caused by Susanoo's broken. Shisui's upside-down body stretches again. Stretch out. A huge skeleton stretched out in just a few seconds. Mature body. It's 2 levels higher than the first form. With this kind of defensive power, it's worth showing me the true face of the master's gift. In his amazed eyes, Orochimaru actually flew slowly into the air, and the next moment, his fake body. The pretense faded slowly, and she became a beautiful woman. But this woman wears a broken mask on her head. There is no doubt that he is Orochimaru. But the form at this moment and the black-red light that suddenly gleamed in between, made Itachi and the god Shisui. The color changes suddenly. That was the light that destroyed Konoha. Sero. When did Orochimaru possess such a powerful force? The master gave the sun. Who is his master? In a desperate matter, Shisui's Mangekyo began to spin frantically. But when he wanted to rewrite Orochimaru's memory with pupil technique, he encountered an unprecedented. That is the weakness of soul and spirit. At this moment, distinguished heavenly gods failed. Resist. Don't die. And Orochimaru, who opposed the distinguished heavenly gods, stood in the air as if nothing was wrong, flashing. About to break out. Are you going to die? Shisui gave a wry smile. The hidden village of the sword, Orochimaru. What are these? Enough. When despair comes, the 2 words of peace penetrate the sky and instantly let the depressed atmosphere disappear. And invisible, even the light on Orochimaru's fingers disappeared instantly. This is the voice of Jianzhang. The tomb of Ferret stood up. Master 3. Bring them over if you have enough fun. Yes. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 224. Even if you betray the world, you will not betray him. The hidden village of the sword. When you really stand in the village at this moment, no one will believe that this ninja village has only been established for a few years. Just like this, being taken on a bustling street and admiring the architecture that is completely different from Konoha has a sense of detachment. This is a simple building that Itachi and Shisui have never seen. Orochimaru, who led the way, said that this kind of architecture belongs to ancient architecture and comes from the East. The inspiration for the building comes from the sole owner of this village, Knight Kenpachi. Along the way, the team came to the intersection of the sword and the sword in the hidden village of Janji. The quaint hall is just ahead. But the so-called hall is just an entrance. Going all the way to the air through the stairway corridor, the hidden village of Janji gradually becomes an underground landscape. Looking down on both sides of the promenade, you can overlook the entire Janyan village, giving people a sense of majesty. Even if they don't understand this architectural style, they seem to be able to feel a bit of the impact and courage that the founder wanted to climb to the top. Does Jianzhang live here? Itachi swallowed. Unknowingly, a trace of sweat leaked from his forehead. When Jianzhang's voice from the air reached outside the village, the fighting had stopped. Looking at Orochimaru, who led the way, Itachi sighed. Although both he and Shisui got the news that Orochimaru had already invested in Jianzhang's demon. But before, I was a little slow, still thinking about who made Orochimaru so powerful. Master. Yes. Will there be other people in the hidden village of Sword? Can Orochimaru surrender and accept evolution? Naturally, there will be no one else. Then the owner who bestows Orochimaru this power is Kenpachi. Just the strength of the servant is so terrifying, then how strong will Jianzhang as the master be? Itachi's eyes were a little confused. From start to finish, what is it that I pursue? His belief in guarding the family and the village seemed worthless in the face of such power. In this world, there are people who believe that as long as their beliefs are tough enough, they can fight all difficulties and fulfill their dreams. But reality is reality. After only a few years, Jianzhang's strength has reached a level that no one can match. If such a person wants to fulfill his ambition, who can stop him? This question is thought-provoking enough. It can even extend to other problems. Shaking his head, Itachi's gaze gradually regained clarity as he walked forward. What's the point of thinking so much? At the current 863, he only needs to look at Jianzhang to understand the meaning of coming here this time. That's important. Just take a look for yourself. Itachi remained silent, and Shisui had no desire to chat. At this moment, Shisui is still immersed in the battle just now. Susanoo was smashed to pieces by Orochimaru's simple punch. As we all know, Orochimaru is not good at physical surgery due to physical reasons. But it was that simple punch that didn't seem to have much effort but shattered the nightmare of the Uchiha clan that was known to destroy everything, Susanoo Nope. Although it is the first form of Susanoo, it is enough to shock people. And obviously, Orochimaru didn't take this battle seriously just now. As he said, this is just a way of welcoming guests. Naturally, life will not be used as a bet. But Shisui knew very well that Orochimaru only entered the fighting state when he used the mature Susanoo Nope. The Sero that can destroy Konoha is definitely not something he can resist. Even Shisui has a terrible idea, that is, even in that form of Orochimaru, he didn't give his full strength. I can vaguely feel that there is a stronger force in his body. What the hell is that? Finally, when a few people stepped on the last step, the scene before them was completely new. This is the top of the hidden village of Sword. A place that belongs to Knight Kenpachi alone. What puzzled Shisui was that the presumably brilliant seat did not appear. The simple style is the same as the quaint buildings below. Suddenly looked over, like a huge training ground. Target, ninja and two weird knives on top of it. On the court, the man was looking at the scenery below with his hands behind his back. When he slowly turned his head, that familiar face was imprinted in Itachi's mind. Sword sang. After a few years of absence, his aura has completely changed. Dark, muffled. No, it's gentle and comfortable, and seems to be completely integrated into everything around you. Coming. After a glance at Itachi, Kenpachi walked to the front of his two Zanpakuto step by step and stretched out his hand to hold the handle of the knife, as if he had a heart, and the chain at the end of Zanpakuto was instantly wrapped around his arm. Reunion after a long time, accompany me to practice. Turning his head, Kenpachi grinned at Itachi. Uchiha Itachi, he finally came. See Deg. Came here with the fetters of childhood and doubts about the future. He hopes to get the answer he wants, but he doesn't know that the answer lies in this practice. Whether the future of Guanping Uchiha clan can be changed, Guanping belongs to Uchiha Itachi's new life. Whether to start. The shuriken fell in his hand, and his eyes were enthusiastic. I thought there might be a thrilling battle after a long absence and reunion, or a farewell. Long moved. But now, Itachi understood. Since childhood, he and Jianzhang have not changed. What has changed is Konoha and the whole world. After understanding this, he was no longer confused. Since nothing has changed, why don't you feel the peace of your own heart and face everything in the future? It is the right choice. Go ahead, Jianzhang. Huh. The shuriken flew forward and finally hit Kenpachi's Zanpakuto. The counter shock from the knife also made Kenpachi's face a smile. Yes, Itachi is still the same. The weight transmitted by the shuriken is the future destiny of the Uchiha clan. The practice began. Shisui and Orochimaru stood by and watched quietly. No matter when, the master's cultivation is so pleasing to the eye. Orochimaru seems to be a little bit emotional. Once he was shocked by Kenpachi for the first time. It was the practice method with Itachi, which seemed to be an understatement. The gesture of returning the blow to the opponent requires a subtle master of one's own power. This alone is enough to show that both people on the field are geniuses. But obviously, the owner is better. The corners of his mouth curled up, and Orochimaru smiled slightly. Shisui next to Orochimaru-sama suddenly raised his head and looked at Orochimaru. His face was very worried, and he looked big. Snake Maru came and nodded with interest to signal that he would fart. The light just now, the mature Susanoo shouldn't be able to stop it, right? Taking a deep breath, Shisui asked solemnly. And if I can, I would also like to know why distinguished heavenly gods is not valid for you. The curiosity is very strong. Orochimaru hugged his shoulders and looked at each other calmly. After a few seconds, he returned his gaze to Kenpachi on the court. This power is given by the master. Without his consent, we won't tell outsiders the situation. But people have said that other Uchiha clan members don't need to worry about it, Shisui-kun and Itachi-kun. Let's talk about it separately. For you, it's not an outsider. After all, even you have drunk the wine the master handed over. Liquor. Is it in that gourd? I seem to be fortunate to have taken over the other side's bar. If you are not an outsider, these things are not the core, and it's okay to tell you. Your Susanoo is just a pediatrician in front of Sero. Even if it is a true complete body, Susanoo can't stop the flash of dryness. Orochimaru expressed his inner thoughts with enthusiasm on his face. Wang Shu's flash. Is it Sero? Shisui swallowed. Susanoo is completely body, it's just a legendary thing, even he doesn't know what the specific form is like. No, as the master's servant, my temporary power can only use ordinary Sero, which is far from the level of Wang Shu's flash. But what I want to say is that the reason Susanoo can't stop Sero is not that its defenses are not strong enough, but that the power system of the two is essentially not one-dimensional. Of course, this is the second question you ask, that is, the source of spiritual power is the soul. I will be controlled by your distinguished heavenly gods when I practice Reiatsu. Is it funny? Orochimaru nodded his head with a finger. Chakra comes from mind and body, but after evolution, I can control other powers besides these two powers, and that power comes from the soul. Use the soul to control my body. The power used is called Reiatsu. Quote. That's a power far beyond chakra. Unfortunately, unless you switch the form, otherwise. I have not been able to combine Reiatsu with chakra itself. Otherwise, even if I did just that, it would be enough to break Susaonope's mature body instead of using Sero. What are these things? Shisui, who didn't understand at all, had a dazed face. For the first time, he heard energy outside of chakra, and it's normal behavior if he doesn't understand. But in this world, apart from the master, none of me has the ability to control two powers at the same time. The ability may be possible in the future, but now, the master is the only one. Orochimaru said with some emotion, following the master to get this kind of power, this is my original. Getting this kind of power, what about after that? Would you still choose to betray? After all, you are Orochimaru. When the power is transcended, betrayal is natural, right? Shisui squinted and questioned his soul. Because until now, he still can't believe that people like Orochimaru would follow one willingly. He is Orochimaru. It's just that Shisui is still stunned. When he finishes talking, it's not Orochimaru's police who waited. Tea or something, just glanced at him contemptuously and laughed wildly. After laughing wildly, Orochimaru calmed down again and turned his head to stare at Shisui. You thought I would be shocked, and then look for a chance to silence me in case you tell the master about my purpose. Childish. With a cold snort, Orochimaru shook his head. You are indeed naive. Why do you think I would say my ambitions in front of my master? Quote. Or do you think that being a god is so easy to surpass? Or do you think that the god who can create this kind of power will really be surpassed? Hiruzen, betray the world. Quote. But only, will not betray ye Kenpachi, my only master. Taking a deep breath, Orochimaru looked proud. After joining the master's demon, I realized that ninjas can still be like this. And the man who gave me eternity allowed me to fulfill my only dream and ambition. As for my desire for strength, I believe that the master is enough to make a change in this world. It is my real ambition to follow him on the battlefield. So, why should I choose to stand on the opposite side of that man? Being able to say this means that you don't know me at all. Like Mrs. Sarutobi, what you see is just the appearance. Without going on, a figure appeared in Orochimaru's mind. Sarutobi Hiruzen. He said that my eyes were full of ambition. But that's just your simple fear, right? The only life I want is endless ninjutsu research and a long life. Everyone has the right to pursue their dreams, but as a teacher, he misunderstood my thinking. As the master once said, you can conduct human experiments. As for the reason, it is because human experiments have two sides. It is not without benefits. No one in the entire world has ever said this to Orochimaru except the owner. That is a man who truly recognizes himself. With such a premise, why betrayal? At this moment, Orochimaru has long since left the name Konoha Rebellion, because the owner said that he cared about this title and didn't abandon everything before. Now he did it. With his gaze fixed, Orochimaru's face was close to Shisui. Please remember, the one standing in front of you is not the legendary Sannin because Hanzo of the Salamander claims to be a demigod, but he doesn't even match the little toes of the gods. Besides, I am not Konoha's betrayal, but the god servant of the master of Jonyan village. Call. It's much easier. Patting Shisui's head, Orochimaru once again held his shoulders to admire Kenpachi and Itachi's practice, but Shisui next to him was completely shocked by the aura that Orochimaru leaked. He has only one idea left. The hidden village of Sword is a new world. And the new world will eventually expand to cover the entire ninja world, and it will disturb the situation in the entire ninja world. Will that day come? Before coming, will you have to pay most of the price? Shisui lowered his head and fell into thought. Is it down? When the sunset was about to set, the two of them's cultivation was finally over. Compared with Kenpachi's calmness, Itachi's tired and unable to speak appearance speaks for itself. He tried his best, but what stood in front of him was still a monster. Sword sang. After spitting out 2 words laboriously, Itachi finally slumped on the ground and shook his head with a wry smile. Let's go. Don't talk nonsense, go take a bath. Is it a bath after a long absence? Itachi nodded and stood up to follow Kenpachi. You too. Kenpachi also hooked his fingers at Orochimaru and Shisui. Me. In an instant, Orochimaru's face blushed, and the original Orochimaru form that had been maintained instantly became Arrancar's sister form. Unfortunately, he completely thinks too much. Even if Ant Snake is bubbling with beauty now, he has no desire to draw a knife in the face of this person. Apparently, he was calling someone. It's Shisui. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 225 What Konoha Dared Not Want, Jonyan Village Wants It. Everyone's transformation has a process and a reason. Kenpachi walked away with Shisui and Itachi, while Orochimaru looked at the setting sun in the distance and smiled. He had never said the things he said to Shisui before in front of Kenpachi. Because he knew it was unnecessary. As the master of Jonyan village, he never asked others to use words to express his loyalty, what he wanted was practical action. The sky is falling in the mouth but there is no performance. Feel sorry. Jonyan village does not need such a person. With that timetable showing loyalty, it is better to really do something for Jonyan village. That's what Orochimaru wanted to do in Konoha. For example, the human experiment he is obsessed with now exists in this village. Even walking on the street, people would really call out Lord Orochimaru as the chief scientific research master of Jonyan village. So, the rebellion Shisui said does not exist. The longevity of Buddhism has just begun, and Orochimaru enjoys everything. Kenpachi leaned against a maid behind him in the luxurious hot springs of Jonyan village, enjoying his practice. After that, of course, the so-called maid is a formal industry in island culture, and massage is no exception. It is a normal industry in Jonyan village. As for whether to discuss in depth after the massage, this is completely private. But at this moment, the one behind Kenpachi is his exclusive masseuse, from start to finish just for him. As for the two Uchiha brothers, who blushed and couldn't lift their heads and rubbed each other, they were obviously affected. No such service. Kenpachi did not encourage his male interest, but now this kind of scene, let alone chat, these two people can call. It is not easy to suck. Go down. Waved to the masseur, Kenpachi sat up and looked at them. Uchiha Shisui, Uchiha Itachi. These two Zebo, who are also teachers and friends, gave the ending that should have existed for that clan. You can see the result from the original work. Obviously. After all, the Uchiha clan was labeled as rebellious, and Konoha became the righteous in the end. On one side, he also became the hero who saved the ninja world. Righteousness is justice. Really funny. The maid had gone out, but the atmosphere in Tang Quan was quieter. I haven't seen each other for many years, and I don't seem to be familiar with it at all. The reason is pretty easy to guess. After all, Kenpachi's identity is still the defected ninja from Konoha, and a few years ago because it caused a more terrifying attack than Nine Tails, almost completely destroying Konoha. Such a person, no matter which Konoha's ninja sees it, he will feel confused. And under this premise, after the relationship between the two and Kenpachi is mixed, they really don't know. How should Dao speak? I didn't think much about it when I was practicing together, but now. Click. Just when the two wiped themselves in confusion, 2 wine gourds fell in front of them. Is Jianzhang's unique way of meeting guests. Itachi smiled suddenly and unscrewed the wine gourd and poured it out. To be honest, it has been a long time since Jianzhang left Konoha. He knows that alcohol can numb his body and spirit, and it can also stop his complicated thoughts for a short time. When a person walks into his room, it is really like getting drunk and forgetting everything. Don't forget. Even now, he is just a teenager and he is not enough to drink. Age. What a good thing. After a mouthful of boredom, Itachi panted and threw the wine gourd aside. The pungent stimulation made him short. I forgot the love fast leaf within time, if here is. Shisui sighed and took a sip, but what he said made him feel incredible. Really. I really want to stay here and be an ordinary villager. The burden on his body is a bit heavy, but now he can't find anyone who can share the burden. Looking at Itachi, Shisui sighed again. Great changes had taken place the moment Itachi came here. Do not. Rather than change, it is better to say that you have returned to the initial mentality. It's a feeling of being guarded by someone in front of me. Wasn't it like that when I was young? No matter what the difficulty is, as long as he is in front of him, it is not worth mentioning. Kenpachi, to be honest, I received an order from Lord Danzo to investigate Jonyan village. This is a bit embarrassing to say. Shisui scratched his head and blushed, not knowing how to express it. This is a man whose true thoughts are not hard to guess. I came to Jonyan village to investigate. I'm afraid I want to see Kenpachi left the village. What kind of day is it, right? Otherwise, if he simply performs the task, it is impossible for him to find Itachi and let him come to Jonyan with him. It's just a detection task, and it doesn't need to be treated as a secret. If you want to explain the reason, it is probably that the battle between Konoha and Cloud Shinobi village has ended at this moment, so. Someone's gaze returned to the head of Jing's Yinyan village again, completely stunned. Renamed the Hidden Sword Village. The power has expanded rapidly, and even the surrounding countries and Shinobu village have been integrated. And even through the news of Konoha's destruction, I learned another news, and that was the sword. The supreme ruler of the hidden village, Kenpachi, is actually one of the members of the mercenary organization Ōtsutsuki. Taking advantage of Konoha's several years of fighting with Cloud Shinobi village, the village has grown to a point that has to be taken seriously. Degree. Therefore, under this premise, the entire ninja world wants to know what the Jonyan village has experienced at this moment. I want to know the fighting power of this Shinobu village. Summing up everything, everyone knows that allowing it to develop is a threat to the entire ninja world. Even if Konoha and Cloud Shinobi village can cease the war so simply, the reason is somewhat similar to that of Jonyan village. Associated. If the war continues, Jonyan village will continue to develop freely. Need to shadow is not a waste, he also understands this. The fight with Konoha is a legacy of history, and the fighting faction wants to use strength to prove that they are the first. If Ninamura has caused a bigger problem because of this problem, this is something they don't want to see. So the truce has become a matter of course. There is only one imperative. Explore the truth of Jonyan village and figure out why they can conquer the surroundings in such a short time. All countries and ninja village have unearthed the secret behind the rapid development of Jonyan village. So, for the entire ninja world, the 1,000 tasks Danzo gave to Shisui is not difficult to guess, and it is also not a chance. What about the results of the investigation? Wanting to understand everything, Kenpachi is still very calm. As a matter of fact, the arrival of these two people is just right for him. It won't take long for the Hyuga evolution course that Orochimaru is in charge of. At that time, Jonyan village's weakest mid-level combat effectiveness has also been perfectly resolved. At that time, the village had nothing to fear. But to say that they were trying to use them to fight against the ninja world, it was almost meaningless. Of course, the explanation of this almost meaning is not insufficient combat effectiveness, but slightly flawed. With Jonyan village's combat power, there is no plan to regress at all. It's Kenpachi's goal to show his toughness. I was defeated, and became a prisoner, not. His head couldn't turn a bit, Shisui sighed helplessly. This situation is somewhat complicated to explain. The captive is indeed not a captive. After all, no prisoner would be treated like this. To be precise, they were invited by people from Jonyan village to enjoy the VIP treatment in the village. It's just that if you report like this after returning, I'm afraid Danzo will treat him and Itachi as traitors on the spot. A little troublesome. Too lazy to talk to Shisui who was in entanglement, Kenpachi turned his attention to Itachi. Quote, Uchiha and Konoha, are you coming soon? Squinting his eyes, Kenpachi asked. Compared with the peeping of the 5 ninja villages, Kenpachi wants to know more about this. Up to 2 years. No, in short, a few months. Itachi's eyes are calm, but the sadness in his eyes can't hide at all. He understood what Jianzhang meant. Almost. That refers to the terrible incident that happened after the contradiction officially broke out. Seize power by rebellion and become Konoha's new master. In a ridiculous way. But is Uchiha really all responsible for this matter? Maybe in the real battlefield, with a normal ninja dispatched to the front line by Konoha, this one. Before the identity fight, he felt that the family was indeed too arrogant at times, and the conflict that could be avoided was hit back. But after that, he was completely lost. Participated in a battle that does not exist in the original book, and witnessed the Uchiha clan giving up their lives to protect the village. The will of the sun. He found out he was wrong. Wrong too outrageous. And that conflict is not caused by one party at all. There are problems on both sides, but we must not put all the blame on Uchiha. Returning from the battlefield, it's fine if the imaginary hero is not treated, which is similar to the later rumor. It's not a big deal at all. That was also the first time that my father had turned his face with Hokage. The reason is a little ridiculous. Before the war started, the village was destroyed, and Uchiha had nothing to lose. From then on came the rumors, and the meaning is obvious because you are not dead, so you and the traitor. Yi Kenpachi has a personal affair, although this is the case, but when someone speaks out in public, there is always a feeling of aggrieved feeling. Especially after returning, they found that their family land had changed again. Back to the original position. The area destroyed by Knight Kenpachi. The most infuriating thing is that the reconstructed Konoha is centered on the area after Uchiha's migration. At first, after all, the buildings over there weren't destroyed. It's also right to start construction there. But why throw Uchiha's clan land to that destroyed wasteland again? Pay them back. Newly established. The family who finally settled down thoroughly fry the pot. The attitude of the village is undoubtedly. Even if the village is rebuilt, it will still use the land before Uchiha, but your family just don't. To be in the center of the village, you must leave the central area and be thrown into the periphery as an orphan. The meeting, witnessed by Itachi, became a rivalry between his father and Shimura Danzo. But in the end, Fugaku lowered his head and accepted the village's arrangement for the stability of the tribe. The home can be rebuilt if it is gone. People can't go wrong. The Uchiha clan has lost too much on the battlefield and hasn't won any benefits. It's him. This patriarch's dereliction of duty can be concluded at the end of the meeting, and even more anger matters. The Konoha guard of the Uchiha clan was relieved of duty. And this decision turned out to be regarded as the village's outstanding compassion for the Uchiha clan. When the decision was made, the Uchiha clan exploded as expected. The angry Fugaku also lost his mind, and took the Uchiha clan people into the current 1,000 guards, and fought a complete battle with the opponent. In this way, it is in the arms of the middle and senior management. What they want is Uchiha to make trouble. Whether it's the transfer of the clan, the dismissal of the post, or not going to meet Guy's Uchiha, it is Danzo's arrangement. It's not easy to use anger to make Uchiha Fugaku, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, lose his mind, but acting like it is. The top management must be a positive role. Therefore, Danzo asked the representative of the positive figure of third generation to come forward and reassign the Uchiha clan guard to the post, and by the way, praised the Uchiha clan for fighting bravery in front of everyone. They succeeded. In the end, the Uchiha clan did not receive any fair welfare treatment for fighting Cloud Shinobi Village, and even their own duties were, charms, by the seniors regardless of their predecessors. The taste has changed. That Konoha has completely changed its taste. The top leaders became heroes, and the Uchiha clan became the sinners who were forgiven magnanimously after the troubles. This is the origin of the contradiction. Zebo, who got nothing, retaliated naturally with the power of the guard. The matter is beyond the control of Uchiha Fugaku. Now he can only choose to stand on the side of the majority of the tribe, and negotiate with the high-level representatives who do not slow down the decision-making of the village. No results. There are only conflicts again and again. So, I'll be short, it's almost a few months. After talking about the reason in one breath, Itachi leaned back wearily, but he did not continue to say something. For example, now he plays the role of a high-level spy in the Uchiha clan, and also plays Uchiha in the eyes of Anbu. Double spy. This kind of life is not easy. Even Itachi has no idea who he is and where he should stand. There is only one question that has been pressing on his heart. That is, Konoha, is it really righteous? Is the Uchiha clan really all wrong? He didn't understand this question at all. Following Shisui to Jonyan village, I hope Jianzhang will give him an answer. He also knew that Jianzhang must know the answer, just whether he was willing to tell him or not. It's almost as expected. Kenpachi touched his chin and listened with gusto. Since the Uchiha clan stepped on the battlefield, Kenpachi knew that things were not that simple. Up to now, the high-level conspiracy has been completely paid for. Oh, it seems that your life in Konoha was still colorful when I was away, Itachi. Smiling and staring at the confused man in front of him, Kenpachi made sensitive jokes recklessly. Jianzhang, tell me what should I do? But Itachi obviously didn't have the thought of playing around, staring at Kenpachi with bloodshot eyes. Click. My forehead hurts. Itachi opened his mouth and wanted to say something. The anxious state of mind just disappeared instantly. Putting his fingers on Itachi's forehead, Kenpachi tilted his head and smiled. Go back and tell your father. Just say, what Konoha dared not ask for. Hidden Sword Village, take it. Quote. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 226 Naruto is not necessarily right, so there is no need to think about the problem from the perspective of Naruto. The atmosphere in Tangquan is slightly different. The three people who met a few years ago have three different mentalities at this moment. Uchiha Itachi, full of gratitude, suddenly realized that this trip to Jonyan village was really right. Since he was a child, his mentality has been reversed by Kenpachi, who has distorted his so-called righteous values. Sometimes people face different choices. But in Kenpachi's view, killing one's parents and clan for the sake of a rotten village cannot be called righteousness. Perhaps those who choose this path will live a very painful life, and even pass this pain on to others, such as Sasuke in the original book. When I first watched anime, I always felt that Sasuke was a bit difficult to understand. He clearly left an inseparable bond in Class 7 but wanted to cut off and leave Konoha. The indifference and coercion of appearance are also always unforgettable. Compared with Naruto, he has always put on the hat of a rebellious boy. But in fact the source of his pain is Itachi. Decided to take this path, he had planned everything about Sasuke, but only after he was resurrected did he understand that Sasuke should have his own life. Perhaps he was the most painful, but Sasuke was the most innocent. Wouldn't it be uncomfortable for Sasuke who killed Itachi in the end? The child who admired his brother the most when he was a child bears the same fate. The two brothers have different fates, but they are both miserable. So the current Itachi finally stopped carrying everything on his own, just as he said when he finally woke up, don't carry it alone, because there are companions around him. Tell Jianzhang about the troubles in his heart, this is the most correct choice. As for Shisui, besides being confused, he is only shocked now. These two. What did they just say? 317. After swallowing, Shisui shivered. If there is no problem with his IQ, he should be able to understand. Just now Kenpachi asked Itachi to go back and discuss with Chief Fugaku to leave Konoha and join Jonyan village, right? I have already said so in front of my own face. This shows that Kenpachi has enough confidence in Uchiha's arrival. Are they all in his calculations? Shisui smiled wryly. But if he is allowed to oppose, or say something righteous, he can't say anything. What Itachi said just now is the truth, the Uchiha clan is in extremely dangerous situation at the moment, and even he can understand the final outcome of staying in Konoha. Perish. Regardless of whether Uchiha's coup succeeds or fails, the result must be ruin. Failed, killed by Konoha. If it succeeds, Konoha will fall apart and become the weakest existence in the 5 ninja villages. At that time, the war will cause cattle, and more people will die than the rebellion will fail. So the ending is already doomed. But he also knew that Uchiha didn't have the consciousness of advancing and retreating with Konoha. Just by looking at the courage on the battlefield, he knew that the heart of the clan belonged to Konoha, and he would rather give his life to protect the village. The contradiction is left over by history, but it has been completely intensified in this generation and has reached a point where it cannot be reconciled. So now Shisui's mood is equally complicated. He just wants to protect the village while also protecting the Uchiha clan. This is his expectation. However, Kenpachi is much more relaxed compared to the complicated mood of the two. Because getting the Uchiha clan from Konoha was not an inevitable pass on his way of fighting for hegemony, but a piggyback. Without the Uchiha clan, he can successfully stand at the pinnacle of the ninja world with the strength in his hand at this moment. Uchiha is just icing on the cake. As for whether they are qualified to stand behind him together, it depends on their choice. Compared to the Hyuga clan, the Uchiha clan is more likely to be emotional. Complex emotions make them easy to lose control. The richer and stronger the inner love is, the more difficult it is to grasp when it is out of control. So that clan is difficult to control, and it's not so easy to get Uchiha's loyalty. Need to strengthen the means. Really show up when they are desperate, so that they can understand who to follow as the real one. The behavior of the Uchiha clan has been getting worse recently. Yes, yesterday it was just that Kemen complained on the street, saying that they took credit for their pride. It's really lawless to be taken away for investigation. That's nothing, and what's worse is that this morning, I forcibly broke into it on the grounds of investigating a traitor. Going into the home of 2 consultants and making trouble. What? Even the home of Naruto consultants. Hehe, you deserve to be from the Uchiha clan, and the consultants dare to bully when they stand up. Hokage-sama doesn't care about it, so let them go. Really merciful Hokage-sama. Entering Konoha after reconstruction, Shisui and Itachi heard not laughter, but the villagers' comments and dissatisfaction with the Uchiha clan. Along the way, Itachi and Shisui discussed a lot. And the most is the future of the Uchiha clan. Shisui has always said that if the village and Uchiha can reconcile, then there is no need to make preparations. In the case of Jonyan village, he didn't want the Uchiha and Hyuga clan to bear the name of a traitor like that. But Itachi understood that when Uchiha came back from the battlefield, the ending was already doomed, and it was basically impossible to make peace. The two of them now live in reality and don't want to live in dreams, and live in dreams and cannot see clearly. They talked all the way to this issue. After returning to Konoha, they heard the villagers' comments, and Itachi became even more aware. In vain, this ending cannot be rewritten. From the attitude of the villagers towards the Uchiha clan, the current situation of the clan can be seen. In their conversation, they have regarded the Uchiha clan as evil spirits that harm Konoha, and even the existence of Konoha of the Uchiha clan will inevitably decline. Such conversations sound nauseous. Konoha's decline was destined. And after the end of the Third Ninja War, this kind of loneliness has already become bullish. That's the leader of the third generation. Bad, what does it have to do with the Uchiha clan? There are too many negative news imposed on the Uchiha clan. Just like the topic the villagers discussed just now. Yesterday, because the villagers complained that Uchiha was arrested. I beg you to use your head to think about it, I am complaining to you now that you look like a pile of shit. Will you be angry and choose to fight back? Is that certain? You said in front of the Uchiha clan that Uchihas was not good. Isn't it very hard to be taken away and suffer a bit? Normal. If you scold someone, we still have to greet each other with a smile. That's right and wrong, right? Besides, talking about the public servants of the village, this doesn't conform to Konoha's rules, and will take you away. What's wrong? Can this topic rise to the level of Uchiha's arrogance? What happened to Konoha? As for breaking into the Naruto consultant's house, that would be ridiculous. As an Anbu ninja, there are spies and traitors from other ninja villages in Itachi Nature's way, but no. No matter how stupid it is, the Uchiha clan, no matter how stupid they are, will not fabricate such things as traitors out of thin air. There must be a reason why they broke into the Hokage consultant's home. Itachi is not clear what the truth of the matter is. But even if you are a Hokage consultant, you have to abide by Konoha's management treaty. It's just a routine inspection. But even said that the Uchiha clan is arrogant. But even if it is performing official duties, when Hokage comes forward, this method of letting official duties continue is called kindness. Do you want to point your face? Squeezing his head, Itachi's heart suddenly became angry. What happened to you? Talking about it, Shisui asked. I found that a lot of things were missed before. As Jianzhang said, thinking about the problem from the perspective of Hokage gave me a part of Datong. Even if you think about the problem from the perspective of Hokage, it is not necessarily the right way of thinking. View, but also abandon the original self. Itachi's eyes burst into flames. Naruto. It's not necessarily right. Uchiha has always thought of himself as Konoha Uchiha, but Konoha has never thought so. Breaking away from Shisui's hand, Itachi walked step by step towards the village where Uchiha was still talking about all kinds of negative news. Itachi finally understands how many people from the Uchiha clan would hear this kind of topic. So angry. In the third case of Article 16 of the Konoha village regulations, the villagers must not talk about it, and they must not publicize the mission of the ninja. Just now you were discussing the details of arresting the traitor, then you must know the news of the traitor. Bar. Holding the hapless neck with one hand, the three-hook jade in Itachi's eyes slowly turned. You, please come with me. After dragging the opponent away on the street, Itachi suddenly felt a little funny. This kind of rubbish that only knows how to talk about it is that the Uchiha clan gave up their lives on the battlefield to protect them. People, had it not been for the Uchiha clan to defend the safety of the border, would this waste in their hands have long been dead under the attack of Cloud Shinobi village? Ridiculous, ridiculous. Itachi. Shisui at the entrance of the village opened his mouth, but finally did not step up to block the opponent. Because when that person insulted Uchiha, he was also a little dissatisfied, but he was able to forgive him. He is such a person. But also, he is also a member of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Itachi. Inside the Naruto office, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo looked at the teenager in front of him. Hokage hadn't spoken yet, Danzo was already aggressive. Called out his name forcefully. After raising his head and looking at each other for a few seconds, Itachi was still extremely calm. It's just doing things impartially. The Konoha regulations are very clear. You need to be cautious in doing things, but Itachi has sex today, and the price is that he must accept the high level. The question is obviously not worried. Just like what he said, he is acting impartially, and the Konoha regulations are very clear. The villagers are the one who is protected and the one who entrusts the ninja to do things. But don't think that the employment relationship is the relationship between the upper level and the lower level. Villagers have no right to interrogate the ninja. The content of the affairs, that person did discuss things about traitors at the entrance of the village, and it's okay to be taken away and tortured. Even if it is sex, it must be drip-proof. You. Squinting his eyes, a murderous look appeared on Danzo. The chess piece seems a bit disobedient. Every time this time, it needs to be beaten well. But his hypocritical partner is playing the role of a good man at the moment, and he is not good at it. You go down first. Really. The hypocritical man said tolerant words. Waving his hand, third generation didn't have any thoughts of guilt here. When Itachi went down, Sarutobi looked at Danzo. Compared with attitude issues, what I care most about is what he experienced in Jonyan village, and that. The intelligence of this village, this is a serious matter. Quote. Danzo sent Shisui to Jonyan village, Sarutobi knew about it. Itachi came over, in addition to asking about the conflict at the entrance of the village, he wanted him to make a specific report. It's a pity that just by looking at your attitude, you will know that reporting may also be concealed. Uchiha Itachi has indeed changed, but Shisui has to answer what the reason is. The office door was pushed open, Shisui walked in step by step. At this moment, his heart is tangled, and he knows why he was called to the office. But what should I say to Third Hokage and Lord Danzo? Tell them that Kenpachi, the owner of Jonyan village, invited them to a sumptuous dinner, and then went for a horse-killing service along the way. I'm afraid it will be treated as a betrayal. After swallowing, Shisui took a deep breath. Fortunately, on the way back, he had agreed with Itachi and said that Jonyan village was heavily guarded and had not received any reliable information. Handing the scroll up, Shisui calmed down and waited. There was no loophole in this answer, and it was not too big to deal with the past problems. Is it well guarded? It should be. Bijing Jonyan Village is the only shinobu village that has Byakugan, the only one that has changed from Konoha to Jonyan Village. It is not so difficult to get in under the watch of Byakugan. As we all know, Byakugan can accurately see the chakra on a person, and even engrave each person's different chakra in his mind to remember the other person. This is why Kurigakure's Blue used Byakugan in the Third Ninja Wars to confirm his identity instantly after seeing him, and then let his subordinates retreat quickly. Based on this condition, it is reasonable that he and Itachi did not really get in. But there is one more thing to add at the end, that is something that can be revealed a little. For example, what is the 4.3 experiment in Jonyan Village, and the sudden increase in Orochimaru's strength? True or false is the real perfect intelligence? You and Uchiha Itachi did not defeat Orochimaru when you joined forces. And also got strange experimental information from his mouth. Putting down the scroll, third generation's heart was a little shocked. My apprentice knows best. Although Orochimaru can be called a genius of ninjutsu, he is facing two geniuses from Uchiha who are stronger than him. The instant body of Grandmaster Illusion, Shisui and Uchiha Yu who just returned from the battlefield. In the face of these two people, can you defeat them with ease? What has he experienced? Shisui is not Uchiha Itachi, as third generation understands, he will not lie to deceive himself. But this kind of news is a bit too unbelievable. What exactly is Orochimaru's experiment? Yes, but Lord Third Generation, Lord Danzo. In contrast to this incident, the subordinates thought of a way to calm the Uchiha clan. Change the subject. And it's a topic that Konoha's top priority needs to address. Shisui smiled, the three-hooked jade of his pupils burst, and the newly born Mangekyo changed Danzo and Sarutobi's expressions greatly. Use my distinguished heavenly gods to change the patriarch. After all, he embarked on that path. What he didn't know was that at this moment above the Hokage office, Kenpachi and Minato were sitting calmly on it and drinking erguodu. With a sigh, Kenpachi shook his head. Excessive kindness. It's you, Shisui. But since I'm here, it will be hard for you to die. The original scene is about to be staged, but unfortunately, two more people are destined to participate. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 227 Death is the simplest thing, but also the most cowardly choice. Everyone has different definitions of kindness and justice. For example, Shisui at this moment and Itachi in the original book. Shisui thinks that his pupil technique can change everything. In the end, the so-called distinguished heavenly gods, the strongest pupil technique, only has two highlight performances. Interview in the first film Danzo used the distinguished heavenly gods map to control the Iron Kokubu leader Mifune and let him become the commander-in-chief of the ninja allied forces, but it was a pity that he was picked up on the battlefield of Aina at the beginning. Byakugan was relieved of control. The strongest illusion I was lifted by a half-hearted Hyuga Byakugan. The other time it performed well, it hardly covered the instruction of dirty soil to turn cows, making Uchiha. Itachi regained consciousness and defeated Kabuto with Sasuke. Good eyes. But it is also used separately. Shisui didn't want to see Uchiha and Konoha's sword facing each other because of his kindness, so he distinguished heavenly gods. The power of the game told Danzo in advance. Then there will only be one result waiting for him. It is the end of his kindness and justice. It's a waste to use such powerful eyes on the Uchiha clan. The technique must be master in his own hands. Danzo shot Shisui mercilessly. Too kind. This is Kenpachi's evaluation of Shisui. Compared to Itachi's complete change in thought, Shisui at this moment obviously still yearns for a peaceful solution. Problem. So if you want to change Shisui's thinking, you have to use a more direct method. Following each other all the way, Kenpachi and Namikaze Minato finally saw the passage in the original book. Why does this happen? Disappointment is cumulative. When Minato saw Danzo close the unsuspecting Shisui's eyes, he was stunned again. He hasn't seen the world after death yet, but his heart has gradually become what Obito sees. Like in the world. Seem. He is in hell. Since he, dead, he has seen everything that happened in this life-guarded village. The unfair treatment suffered by his son, the gloom and intrigue of Konoha's senior management. The races compete for fame and fortune. If this is just a simple excitement, then everything he has experienced in Jonyan Village makes him. The firm heart began to collapse. Because of Konoha's calculations, there is absolutely no existence in Jonyan Village. As Kenpachi said on the same night, what a village is, the most important thing is the village. The person, but the upper person. It's rumored that the scene of harmony inside Jonyan Village, which is dark enough to ultimate, will probably be believed. Not sure. It's a pity that they are all wrong. In contrast, the old man who snapped Shisui's eyes and set him in the distance is the meaning of existence. What? After all, this is Konoha, understandable. Kenpachi said lightly. The ridiculous drama in the original book. Shisui lost an eye after being launched by Danzo Izanagi and ran away in a hurry. Kenpachi did not appear directly between Shisui and Danzo, because he knew that some things could. If you can't understand it, No matter how much you spend, it doesn't make much sense to save the other party many times. It doesn't need to be too troublesome to defeat Shisui's belief, but Itachi has to cooperate with him. And the most important thing is to save a Shisui who is still loyal to Konoha and reverse his thoughts. Which is more cost-effective water? Kenpachi doesn't need people who oppose him to become subordinates. Even if this person is a friend who has been recognized. Shisui. What happened? Nanhekwan. By the familiar river. It was also the place originally agreed with Shisui to meet. When Shisui appeared in front of Itachi, bloody and dying, Itachi was completely stunned. The best friend I met at the door of the Hokage office was attacked. What happened? No time to elaborate. Shisui gave a wry smile and shook his head, his single eye suddenly became firm. Originally, I wanted to rely on distinguished heavenly gods to control the patriarch and suppress the coup, but Danzo didn't believe in me and took one of my eyes. This eye is for you, Itachi. I hope you can protect Konoha and maintain Uchiha's name. If you were my friend. Novel Network. Goodbye Itachi, don't choose to stop me. After a brief loss of consciousness, it was too late when he wanted to reach out and grab Shisui. The three-go jade finally broke down, and the newly born Mangekyo represents the growth and hatred of Itachi. A road seemed to faintly appeared in front of him. Are you going to die? The river in Nanhi River is swift, and Shisui, who is only half of his breath, feels that he is about to leave his body. But at the moment he was about to lose consciousness, a hand suddenly grabbed his collar and pulled him out of the river. Pulled out of the water. Who is? Quote. I want to struggle hard, but he loses his eyes and is very poisonous. He has no strength. Minato, do you know? Death is sometimes the easiest thing, even if you want to die, you have countless kinds of painless way. Quote. Perhaps when you died for Konoha, at that moment you felt like you were great, but in my opinion, suicide is tantamount to a coward. The sound is familiar, but it's not Itachi. But. Sword. 8. Shish, like Minato, don't think you are proud of your death. Kenpachi's hand was placed on Shisui's forehead, and an ordinary eye appeared in his eye socket for an instant. Even the poison in his body began to dissipate. But when he opened his eyes, he was stunned. The one beside Kenpachi. Fourth Hokage. What's the situation? Before he could ask, Kenpachi had already turned his attention to his body and pinched it with that hand. Covered his face. Death is the easiest thing, but the living is the most painful. For example, the fourth Hokage next to me, outsiders know that he is dead, and he died very lightly. Wrong, and his wife died in the Nine Tails chaos with his wife, destroying Konoha with his life. Quote. It sounds magnificent and magnificent. It seems that you can get this kind of glory, and death is nothing terrible. After a pause, a look of contempt appeared on Kenpachi's face. But what about after death? He just saw the suffering of the living. The son of the hero has become synonymous with the demon fox. The shit is to protect Naruto from releasing. The news of his fourth-generation son, releases the identity of Nine Tails Jinchuriki, does not release the son of a hero. What a joke. Is Minato's son Nine Tails Jinchuriki attractive? There are only expired milk and instant noodles. It is even more fun to have a ramen meal than during the Chinese New Year. He is alive, more painful than death. Child of fourth generation. That kid. Shisui was silent for a while, he couldn't refute this but he couldn't do anything about it. Just by looking at the yellow-haired man next to his face full of pain, you know that he is alive and more tolerable than death. Of more, giving up to death is the most irresponsible behavior. Kenpachi, are you just letting me understand this? Bowing his head, Shisui lost his thoughts. Just like you, entrust everything to Itachi. Also let him guard Konoha while defending Uchiha's name. You know how much you asked for. Points. Quote. Let go of Shisui. Kenpachi looked at each other faintly. People in this world always like to entrust other people with things they can't do, and then take care of them. The thing is called inheritance. Quote. But I just want to tell you a word. That is, don't do to others what you don't want. If you can't do it yourself, why should you ask others? Do you think that as long as you trust the other person, the other party can do it? It's ridiculous. Sitting on the rock, Kenpachi sighed. Conversely, think about it, how tired will the entrusted party live? A life that should have been peaceful may disappear, no matter how much you trust the other person, as long as you. What was entrusted to him was enough to change their lives. Quote. But why can't my own things be perfect? Just take the Konoha and Uchiha you entrusted to Itachi. Think about it with your wisdom. He can guarantee. What is the whole thing? Quote. Looking at Kenpachi in a daze, Shisui had no idea what to say. The sentence just now, don't do to others what you don't want, has been completely suppressed by him. If you understand carefully, that is, I didn't do it, so why do I ask others to do it, and do it well? Why? Perhaps his word will really change the fate of his best friend. Perhaps you will feel unwilling and feel that I am overlying. But you want you to use the eyes I gave you to see, the world after your death is like this fourth Hokage, take a look at what he will post after he dies, what he entrusted. Will things change a person's life? Then finally see if I am irresponsible. Pulling Shisui up on the ground, Kenpachi smiled. Saying with your mouth is a waste of time after all. From now on, Itachi's performance can prove everything. Witnessing the death of a close friend, Itachi naturally opened Wanwa and Sharingan became a cow. Just like the icy breath after Sasuke opened his eyes, the current Itachi chakra is also affected. It's just that Itachi hides the darkness opened by Mangekyo deeper. Do you look at it with your eyes? Shisui understood what Kenpachi meant. A dead person, see the world after death from the perspective of the dead person. He doesn't find it interesting, and the ending is likely to be cruel. But now Shisui can't guess what this event will turn out to be. Seping, what he entrusted to Itachi is indeed a bit heavy. Uchiha's genius, Uchiha Shisui jumped into the river and committed suicide, without a dead body. A few days later, the news had spread throughout the village. But no matter how you look at it, it looks like a conspiracy by the top or the Uchiha clan. The smell of gunpowder on both sides becomes stronger. Uchiha Ancestral Hall meetings are becoming more frequent. Finally, 3 months later, the intersection of fate has finally arrived. This time the content of the clan meeting became more intense than expected. Shisui's death seemed to stimulate the nerves of the whole family, and those who had originally stood by conservatives also began to stand firm. Definitely want to carry out a coup. And the result of today's meeting is to discuss some things about the coup. It can be said that the armed seizure of political power is already a certainty. Patriarch, can't bear it anymore. Yes, Patriarch, do you know what those villagers call you now? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. First, Uchiha Shisui, I'm afraid it will be Itachi or Sasuke if we don't need it. We have to take measures. Quote. Strangely consistent. Fugaku looks calm. Compared with the manic people, he is obviously more rational. In terms of the strength of the Uchiha clan at the moment, let alone the success rate of the coup, even if the battle is really won and with the least loss, what will be used to solve the Konoha clan that is impossible to surrender? Once a coup d'état is issued, other shinobu villages will not sit still. I only have one question. A coup can't kill people. Uchiha can use only hundreds of combat power. Even if you win the battle at the least cost and successfully seize power, what will happen after that? Other ethnic groups are dissatisfied, and other ninja villages take advantage of the chaos. Under internal and external troubles, neither Konoha nor the Uchiha clan can survive. Have you thought about this? 957 The audience was silent. People from the Uchiha clan are not all fools, they just get angry easily. When Fugaku can think of it, they can naturally think of it a bit too. But even so, they have to. Because if you do nothing, waiting for them is definitely a way to perish. My patriarch. At this moment, the elder of the Uchiha clan suddenly stood up. I understand what you are considering, but since everyone is gathering here, it is not for worry, but for Uchiha, for the sake of the whole family. Everyone comes in with the consciousness that even if they are dead, they don't want to suffer this kind of treatment. Even if it's dead. Fugaku was relieved on his face, but after all he shook his head. Unlike these tribesmen, what he has to consider is the survival of the tribe after all. The Uchiha clan must not be completely cut off in his hands. The people of the tribe said nicely, they died when they died, but what about their family members? What about the things they fought and guarded from the front line? Didn't die in the hands of the enemy, but fell under calculation, how reconciled? Don't worry, I have other ways. Taking a deep breath, Fugaku took a step forward and his eyes burned. Once our ancestors, Uchiha Madara and Senju clan founded Konoha, Uchiha is different from other clan. Especially completely different from the Hyuga clan. We have the right to choose whether or not to stay in this village, but our departure is by no means a defect, but just to say goodbye to the past. Quote. If you have the consciousness of death, then wait for my order to protect the family around you and leave Konoha with me after 3 days. Shocked. Confused. After Fugaku finished speaking, the entire ancestral hall suddenly became quiet. In a few simple words, they fully understand what Fugaku wants to do. That is, leave Konoha. I will secretly inform the cadres of the specifics, and now I will disband and wait for news. Obviously, Fugaku did not intend to explain too much at once. The clan assembly in the ancestral hall is over. But obviously this time there will be one less member of the clan. That is Uchiha Itachi, who was just ordered to monitor the Uchiha clan. Although it was surveillance, he was struggling at this time. There is only one source of struggle. That's what Danzo talked to him before. A lot of cumbersome truths, if you simply explain it, Danzo gave him a choice. 1. Or be destroyed by Konoha with the Uchiha clan, and a living mouth will not be left behind. As for the second option, Itachi lowered his head and fisted and broke away from the surveillance team, and came to the familiar Nanhekwan. But the person standing by the river made Itachi's eyes blur instantly. Sword sang. What should I do? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 227 Death is the simplest thing, but also the most cowardly choice. Everyone has different definitions of kindness and justice. For example, Shisui at this moment and Itachi in the original book. Shisui thinks that his pupil technique can change everything. In the end, the so-called distinguished heavenly gods, the strongest pupil technique, only has 2 highlight performances. Interview. In the first film, Danzo used the distinguished heavenly gods map to control the Iron Kokubu leader Mifune and let him become the commander-in-chief of the ninja allied forces, but it was a pity that he was picked up on the battlefield of Aina at the beginning. Byakugan was relieved of control. The strongest illusion I was lifted by a half-hearted Hyuga Byakugan. The other time it performed well, it hardly covered the instruction of dirty soil to turn cows, making Uchiha. Itachi regained consciousness and defeated Kabuto with Sasuke. Good eyes. But it is also used separately. Shisui didn't want to see Uchiha and Konoha sword facing each other because of his kindness, so he distinguished heavenly gods. The power of the game told Danzo in advance. Then there will only be one result waiting for him. It is the end of his kindness and justice. It's a waste to use such powerful eyes on the Uchiha clan. The technique must be master in his own hands. Danzo shot Shisui mercilessly. Too kind. This is Kenpachi's evaluation of Shisui. Compared to Itachi's complete change in thought, Shisui at this moment obviously still yearns for a peaceful solution. Problem. So if you want to change Shisui's thinking, you have to use a more direct method. Following each other all the way, Kenpachi and Namikaze Minato finally saw the passage in the original book. Why does this happen? Disappointment is cumulative. When Minato saw Danzo close the unsuspecting Shisui's eyes, he was stunned again. He hasn't seen the world after death yet, but his heart has gradually become what Obito sees. Like in the world. He is in hell. Since he, dead, he has seen everything that happened in this life-guarded village. The unfair treatment suffered by his son, the gloom and intrigue of Konoha's senior management. The races compete for fame and fortune. If this is just a simple excitement, then everything he has experienced in Jonyan village makes him. The firm heart began to collapse. Because of Konoha's calculations, there is absolutely no existence in Jonyan village. As Kenpachi said on the same night, what a village is, the most important thing is the village. The person, but the upper person. It's rumored that the scene of harmony inside Jonyan village, which is dark enough to ultimate, will probably be believed. Not sure. It's a pity that they are all wrong. In contrast, the old man who snapped Shisui's eyes and set him in the distance is the meaning of existence. What? After all, this is Konoha, understandable. Kenpachi said lightly. The ridiculous drama in the original book. Shisui lost an eye after being launched by Danzo Izanagi and ran away in a hurry. Kenpachi did not appear directly between Shisui and Danzo, because he knew that some things could. If you can't understand it, no matter how much you spend, it doesn't make much sense to save the other party many times. It doesn't need to be too troublesome to defeat Shisui's belief, but Itachi has to cooperate with him. And the most important thing is to save a Shisui who is still loyal to Konoha and reverse his thoughts. Which is more cost-effective water? Kenpachi doesn't need people who oppose him to become subordinates. Even if this person is a friend who has been recognized. Shisui. What happened? Nanhekwan. By the familiar river. It was also the place originally agreed with Shisui to meet. When Shisui appeared in front of Itachi, bloody and dying, Itachi was completely stunned. The best friend I met at the door of the Hokage office was attacked. What happened? No time to elaborate. Shisui gave a wry smile and shook his head, his single eye suddenly became firm. Originally, I wanted to rely on distinguished heavenly gods to control the patriarch and suppress the coup, but Danzo didn't believe in me and took one of my eyes. This eye is for you, Itachi. I hope you can protect Konoha and maintain Uchiha's name. If you were my friend. Novel Network. Goodbye Itachi, don't choose to stop me. After a brief loss of consciousness, it was too late when he wanted to reach out and grab Shisui. The three-go jade finally broke down, and the newly born Mangekyo represents the growth and hatred of Itachi. A road seemed to faintly appear in front of him. Are you going to die? The river in Nanhi River is swift, and Shisui, who is only half of his breath, feels that he is about to leave his body. But at the moment he was about to lose consciousness, a hand suddenly grabbed his collar and pulled him out of the river. Pulled out of the water. Who is? Quote. I want to struggle hard, but he loses his eyes and is very poisonous. He has no strength. Minato, do you know? Death is sometimes the easiest thing, even if you want to die, you have countless kinds of painless way. Quote. Perhaps when you died for Konoha, at that moment you felt like you were great, but in my opinion, suicide is tantamount to a coward. The sound is familiar, but it's not Itachi. But. Sword. 8. Shish, like Minato, don't think you are proud of your death. Kenpachi's hand was placed on Shisui's forehead, and an ordinary eye appeared in his eye socket for an instant. Even the poison in his body began to dissipate. But when he opened his eyes, he was stunned. The one beside Kenpachi. Fourth Hokage. What's the situation? Before he could ask, Kenpachi had already turned his attention to his body and pinched it with that hand. Covered his face. Death is the easiest thing, but the living is the most painful. For example, the fourth Hokage next to me, outsiders know that he is dead, and he died very lightly. Wrong, and his wife died in the Nine Tails chaos with his wife, destroying Konoha with his life. Quote. It sounds magnificent and magnificent. It seems that you can get this kind of glory, and death is nothing terrible. After a pause, a look of contempt appeared on Kenpachi's face. But what about after death? He just saw the suffering of the living. The son of the hero has become synonymous with the demon fox. The shit is to protect Naruto from releasing. The news of his fourth-generation son releases the identity of Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, does not release the son of a hero. What a joke. Is Minato's son Nine-Tails Jinchuriki attractive? There are only expired milk and instant noodles. It is even more fun to have a ramen meal than during the Chinese New Year. He is alive, more painful than death. Child of fourth generation. That kid. Shisui was silent for a while. He couldn't refute this, but he couldn't do anything about it. Just by looking at the yellow-haired man next to his face full of pain, you know that he is alive and more tolerable than death. Of more, giving up to death is the most irresponsible behavior. Kenpachi, are you just letting me understand this? Bowing his head, Shisui lost his thoughts. Just like you, entrust everything to Itachi. Also let him guard Konoha while defending Uchiha's name. You know how much you asked for. Points. Quote. Let go of Shisui. Kenpachi looked at each other faintly. People in this world always like to entrust other people with things they can't do, and then take care of them. The thing is called inheritance. Quote. But I just want to tell you a word. That is, don't do to others what you don't want. If you can't do it yourself, why should you ask others? Do you think that as long as you trust the other person, the other party can do it? It's ridiculous. Sitting on the rock, Kenpachi sighed. Conversely, think about it. How tired will the entrusted party live? A life that should have been peaceful may disappear, no matter how much you trust the other person, as long as you. What was entrusted to him was enough to change their lives. Quote. But why can't my own things be perfect? Just take the Konoha and Uchiha you entrusted to Itachi. Think about it with your wisdom. He can guarantee. What is the whole thing? Quote. Looking at Kenpachi in a daze, Shisui had no idea what to say. The sentence just now, don't do to others what you don't want, has been completely suppressed by him. If you understand carefully, that is, I didn't do it, so why do I ask others to do it, and do it well? Why? Perhaps his word will really change the fate of his best friend. Perhaps you will feel unwilling and feel that I am overlying. But you want you to use the eyes I gave you to see, the world after your death is like this fourth Hokage, take a look at what he will post after he dies, what he entrusted. Will things change a person's life? Then finally see if I am irresponsible. Pulling Shisui up on the ground, Kenpachi smiled. Saying with your mouth is a waste of time after all. From now on, Itachi's performance can prove everything. Witnessing the death of a close friend, Itachi naturally opened Wanwa and Sharingan became a cow. Just like the icy breath after Sasuke opened his eyes, the current Itachi chakra is also affected. It's just that Itachi hides the darkness opened by Mangekyo deeper. Do you look at it with your eyes? Shisui understood what Kenpachi meant. A dead person, see the world after death from the perspective of the dead person. He doesn't find it interesting, and the ending is likely to be cruel. But now Shisui can't guess what this event will turn out to be. Saping, what he entrusted to Itachi is indeed a bit heavy. Uchiha's genius, Uchiha Shisui jumped into the river and committed suicide, without a dead body. A few days later, the news had spread throughout the village. But no matter how you look at it, it looks like a conspiracy by the top or the Uchiha clan. The smell of gunpowder on both sides becomes stronger. Uchiha ancestral hall meetings are becoming more frequent. Finally, 3 months later, the intersection of fate has finally arrived. This time the content of the clan meeting became more intense than expected. Shisui's death seemed to stimulate the nerves of the whole family, and those who had originally stood by conservatives also began to stand firm. Definitely want to carry out a coup. And the result of today's meeting is to discuss some things about the coup. It can be said that the armed seizure of political power is already a certainty. Patriarch, can't bear it anymore. Yes, Patriarch, do you know what those villagers call you now? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. First, Uchiha Shisui, I'm afraid it will be Itachi or Sasuke if we don't need it. We have to take measures. Quote. Strangely consistent. Fugaku looks calm. Compared with the manic people, he is obviously more rational. In terms of the strength of the Uchiha clan at the moment, let alone the success rate of the coup, even if the battle is really won and with the least loss, what will be used to solve the Konoha clan that is impossible to surrender? Once a coup d'état is issued, other shinobu villages will not sit still. I only have one question. A coup can't kill people. Uchiha can use only hundreds of combat power. Even if you win the battle at the least cost and successfully seize power, what will happen after that? Other ethnic groups are dissatisfied, and other ninja villages take advantage of the chaos. Under internal and external troubles, neither Konoha nor the Uchiha clan can survive. Have you thought about this? 957 The audience was silent. People from the Uchiha clan are not all fools, they just get angry easily. When Fugaku can think of it, they can naturally think of it a bit too. But even so, they have to. Because if you do nothing, waiting for them is definitely a way to perish. My patriarch. At this moment, the elder of the Uchiha clan suddenly stood up. I understand what you are considering, but since everyone is gathering here, it is not for worry, but for Uchiha, for the sake of the whole family. Everyone comes in with the consciousness that even if they are dead, they don't want to suffer this kind of treatment. Even if it's dead. Fugaku was relieved on his face, but after all he shook his head. Unlike these tribesmen, what he has to consider is the survival of the tribe after all. The Uchiha clan must not be completely cut off in his hands. The people of the tribe said nicely, they died when they died, but what about their family members? What about the things they fought and guarded from the front line? Didn't die in the hands of the enemy, but fell under calculation, how reconciled? Don't worry, I have other ways. Taking a deep breath, Fugaku took a step forward and his eyes burned. Once our ancestors, Uchiha Madara and Senju clan founded Konoha, Uchiha is different from other clan. Especially completely different from the Hyuga clan. We have the right to choose whether or not to stay in this village, but our departure is by no means a defect, but just to say goodbye to the past. Quote. If you have the consciousness of death, then wait for my order to protect the family around you and leave Konoha with me after 3 days. Shocked. Confused. After Fugaku finished speaking, the entire ancestral hall suddenly became quiet. In a few simple words, they fully understand what Fugaku wants to do. That is, leave Konoha. I will secretly inform the cadres of the specifics, and now I will disband and wait for news. Obviously, Fugaku did not intend to explain too much at once. The clan assembly in the ancestral hall is over. But obviously this time there will be one less member of the clan. That is Uchiha Itachi, who was just ordered to monitor the Uchiha clan. Although it was surveillance, he was struggling at this time. There is only one source of struggle. That's what Danzo talked to him before. A lot of cumbersome truths, if you simply explain it, Danzo gave him a choice. 1. Or be destroyed by Konoha with the Uchiha clan, and a living mouth will not be left behind. As for the second option, Itachi lowered his head and fisted and broke away from the surveillance team, and came to the familiar Nanhekwan. But the person standing by the river made Itachi's eyes blur instantly. Sword sang. What should I do? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running.